So without further ado, let me go ahead and get started on everything. I want to talk a little bit first before I compare and contrast. I'm going to read officially what the current creator FAQ policy is for itch.io, so we're all on the same page. I'll basically pinpoint the things that have been upsetting people, and we'll talk about that, and we'll look over specifically what's been added in. So let's do that. Okay, where is it? Firefox. Fire. Okay. Itch.io. Is adult content allowed? I'm gonna maneuver myself here a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Itch.io. Is adult content allowed? There we go. Is adult content allowed? We don't allow hosting adult content, hosting content that includes sexualized images or videos of real-life humans. Fictional, illustrated, and rendered content is generally fine, assuming it's legal. AI-generated imagery that is designed to resemble photographic content of real people is not allowed. Content glorifying sexual violence is not permitted. Oh, whoa. Thank you for the biddies. Thank you for the 100, Jeremy. They're pointing to the slop and going, this is what they're defending, those degens. That's crazy. Depictions of minors, minor presenting, or suggested minors in a sexual context are not allowed and will result in account suspension. Our policy is not an invitation to push the boundaries of what is acceptable. Violations that result in administrative action are permanent with no chance of appeal. Any funds on the account will not be eligible for payout. There is no second chance. If you plan to collect money for your content, then you must adhere to the acceptable use policy of all respective payment processors that your account utilizes. So let's look over here really quickly. So this is the same page. Sorry for the flashbang of white. I'm often saying this as a white woman who's very pale. This is the same page, but from January 5th, 2025. So just to went pretty far back, just so we're all on the same page for what's actually been the creator FAQ of itch.io for a hot minute. So we'll go to the adult content section. For the is adult content allowed section, we don't allow hosting content that includes pornographic images or videos of real-life humans. Fictional, illustrated, and rendered content is generally fine, assuming it's legal. Content glorifying sexual violence is not permitted. Depictions of minors, minor presenting, or suggested minors in a sexual context are not allowed and will result in account suspension. If you plan to collect money for your content, then you must adhere to the acceptable use policy of all respective payment processors that your account utilizes. Now, if I recall correctly, somewhere along the way before today, they did add this notification. Our policy is not an invitation to push the boundaries of what is acceptable. Violations that result in administrative action are permanent with no chance of appeal, and any funds in the account will not be eligible for payout. There is no second chance. This was added sometime before today, if I recall correctly. I can confirm that if there's any anxiety about this on stream. So just to be clear that these policies have been in place, these specific ones that I have just read, they've been in place for a minute on itch.io. Obviously, the term minor presenting is very strange, and we'll talk about this. And I do want to stress that probably save for the AI-generated imagery, although we actually have seen this issue come up. Actually, we have seen this issue come up with payment processors. But all this stuff here very clearly is not itch.io doing it to take a stand on anything in particular because of their specific beliefs about what kind of content should or shouldn't be published. In my personal opinion, it's very clear that this is the even early on, even as far back as January 2024, and probably earlier than that, this is probably done at the behest of payment processors. Why? Because we know for a fact that this is the kind of language that is seen on other sites. Patreon traditionally in their content guidelines has talked about this issue of basically, if characters in sexual context look like minors, seem to be minors, they're going to err on the side of them being minors. We've seen this a lot with Patreon removing adult artists that work with essentially lolicon, shotacon content. I will come back to the minor presenting issue when we talk about the guidelines themselves, because even though this is old, and I want to stress that this is old, this has been there on itch.io, I think even though it might be wrong to say, oh my God, they just did this, it is correct to still be critical of this in the sense that this is very open-ended. Minor presenting is very open-ended. It's hard to say exactly what that means or whether the definition of that is flexible. It can further expand and encompass more things. Now, I know a lot of folks here are not comfortable with lolicon Shotokan content. You know, in my own work, I've criticized it in the past, especially writing on Via Lore, which does do a lot of lolicon content, which does, you know, there's a Via Lore fan game on itch.io by, you know, friends of the show, Hot Pink. And there's also, of course, Via Lore is on Patreon and Patreon and Fansly. And it's important to keep in mind that they, as a VTuber agency, are uniquely at risk, in my opinion, on this issue. If payment processors decide to target them, I think that's a fair assessment to make. You know, while I've criticized Via Lore in the past, and also I've discussed Via Lore as negatively in terms of its kind of lolicon content, and I think it's important to keep that agency in mind and how it's affected with this issue. I'm pointing this stuff out not to specifically sit here and say I'm going to take a principled stand on lolicon content, but rather to paint a picture for you guys about how these things work with payment processors. I do think ultimately everyone is going to have a different line in the sand of what they're comfortable with on a storefront. But it is still important to identify patterns of behavior. And this is something that I have discussed before. This is not the first time that in the realm of payment processor censorship, I've discussed it. Last year, I also discussed Cuddly Octopus. I discussed the fact that a lot of their dakimakuras, their anime body pillow covers, had to be pulled because of issues of payment processors. And I think in a similar way, the same way that Cuddly Octopus had their content pulled, there's a pattern of behavior with Patreon's policies using this kind of language, even if they don't use a cringy term like minor presenting. And in the same way, we see this with itch.io as well. And what we will continuously see is areas that feel like a gray area do start to get pressured, and they do start to get poked and prodded. You know, some of the Cuddly Octopus dakimakuras had to be pulled might be considered lolicon in ways others were not. When I talked about Bokuton, with Nicotine and a couple other folks recently, I stressed that there was a lot of back and forth and disagreement between Steam and Manga Gamer about whether the character scene and its hidden adult scene was an underage character. Basically what I want to say is, look, at the end of the day, we all have our different feelings about lolicon Shotokan content. I have expressed feelings about that content in the past, and I've also expressed in the past my concern that some content from VTubers that's ASMR oriented and 18 plus will likely be targeted by payment processors because of things like this being common in payment processor terms. I am not going to sit here and say, you know, I am the #1 lolicon Shotokan fan of the world, because I, again, have criticized that content. But I am going to sit here and say that my personal opinion is that if content is legal and being published and it's artistic content, and again, it's legal in the region where a payment processor is operating, then I don't think a payment processor has any right to censor that content. It's a matter of whether that content is legally able to be expressed. And if in a court of law, that kind of material is allowed to be published, and we have seen a lot of it published in anime manga works legally in the US, then I don't think a payment processor should have a right to censor it. That is my personal feeling. Because it's about the principle of the matter. It's about the principle of a payment processor deciding what speech is or isn't necessarily okay, even though it's legal speech. Now, if speech is illegal, if it's deemed hate speech as well, then that's different. Of course, you know, if content is illegal, then a payment processor shouldn't be processing it. But I just want to make this clear here, so we're all on the same page as I talk about this issue going forward, because I know for a lot of folks this is very loaded, this is very complicated, and a lot of folks feel like there are different limits where they feel payment processors should get involved and others where they shouldn't. I want to make it clear what my policy is, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see this issue come right back up again, and who knows where. So there you go. That's how I feel about it. That's just so we're all on the same page and we can kind of move forward from there. Thank you. I'm glad you find it a reasonable take. Appreciate that. Okay. Now that we've talked about that, excuse me. Only Gilson Silver Foxes alone. itch.io due to not presenting as minors explicitly. White woman alert. White woman alert. Okay. Now we've talked about this, let's talk about the current terms again. This is going to be the bulk of what I talk about before we move on to Steam. So, The following is a non-exhaustive list of prohibited themes present in card processing networks. We are unable to support the sale of any works containing these topics. Non-consensual content, real or implied. Underage or quote-unquote barely legal themes. Incest or pseudo-incest content. Bestiality or animal-related. Rape, coercion, or force-related. Sex trafficking implications. Revenge porn, voyeur, hidden cam. Fetish involving bodily waste or extreme harm. I decided to text compare both of this page more recently in July and then also of January, and I confirmed that using text compare that this was in fact new, this specific aspect over here. In fact, let me try to get the most recent page as possible in Internet Archive so we can further discuss it and talk about it as well. Let me actually see, literally 26 is today. Let me literally go to the 25th so we can compare how this has changed specifically. Okay. So, yeah, so as you can see, this content, this is new. It wasn't even in there yesterday. We know for a fact, excuse me, that I just had breakfast, lol. Whoopsies. We know for a fact that Itch.io has been in discussion with its payment processors with a particular focus on Stripe being an issue that they've had to deal with and discuss things with. And so let's compare. And so just to confirm, these were the only terms added into the creator FAQ recently. The only things added in the past 24 hours. The following is a non-exhaustive list of prohibited themes present in card processing networks. We're unable to support the sale of any works containing these topics. Okay, so this obviously opens a lot of questions up for what comes next with Itch.io. So I'm going to go bullet point by bullet point. Bullet point is kind of accurate. Bullet point by bullet point, and we'll discuss specifically what you should know. Apologize for the flashbang and what this means. I'll put on my journalist cap and we'll discuss it. Hey Wolf, the fight is going strong. Get them payment processors. We are seeing a lot of love across the internet. I know Hassan looked at Moist Critical's video and talked, mentioned Be My Name as well, which I was very happy about. My article appeared on stream while he was watching Moist. He was watching Critical. I'm just going to say watching Charlie. I feel like saying watching Moist is like an innuendo. Oh, Hassan was watching so much Moist. Okay. Hassan gets Moist. Oh, I'm bricked up. I'm so bricked up after you said that. Oh my god. He's hot. Following is a non-exhaustive list of prohibited themes present in card processing networks. So I think it's important. Ow. So they're being a little bit more specific here. They're talking about card processing networks. So they're talking, remember how I've talked about this recently on Blue Sky? Let me pull it up actually. 1 second. Sent this to Nicotine, so I'm like trying to get it up through her. I'm like, Nicotine Bay, come through. We got to talk about the card processing network. Okay, so what you need to understand is like colloquially, everyone calls payment processor, everyone says like anyone that touches the money in this chain, we now just call them payment processors for ease of explanation. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm going to continue to refer to the card networks, PayPal, Stripe, everyone involved in the chain, a payment processor, because I don't think it's inaccurate either. Like at the end of the day, like everyone here is processing your payment in some shape or form. But it is important to understand that it's not like you put in the funny numbers from Visa and the wacky digits on the back, the 3 special wacky digits. And Visa is the only person in the chain. And it's just simply, Visa, MasterCard, vibing, making all the decisions on their own. No one else is involved, right? The actual way that payment works, right, is a little bit more complicated than that. I'm not going to talk about the specific blow by blow here because, truth be told, I'm not a financial expert. But I am going to talk about this again and show this image to stress that the way that payment processing actually works is a little complicated. You basically have, the literal payment processor of like Stripe or PayPal. And kind of in my older work, I used to really go by that term specifically. I would say like payment processors, banks, and credit cards. I would be stressing essentially that it's like there's PayPal and Stripe, and PayPal, the way I would think of it is sort of like there's the merchant, which is like maybe like Patreon or Itch.io or so, and then they're getting bullied by the payment processor, i.e. PayPal, Stripe. But the payment processor is also kind of like, they're kind of getting bullied by the cards, and the cards might or might not be getting bullied by the banks, because they have to be working with, the bank proper, right? There's this going on in the background. You'll see folks stress that like these green ones over here, like this stuff over here is and particularly the gateway is the most urgent connection that you have with them via the merchant. And the card network itself is working more with the bank. So we have seen some people stress, hey, pressure the payment processor specifically, not the card. But I don't think that's really correct. When I talked to Visa yesterday, the supervisor that I eventually had on the phone specifically was addressing me by saying, I heard you have some complaints about like our, payment process, like our payment policies. And we've seen traditionally that MasterCard and Visa do like to set the policies. It's not necessarily that these guys here are setting the policies, although they are as well. Rather, what I'm saying is we often see that the cards themselves in this chain of command in this chain of events are actually the ones setting the policies and saying what is and isn't high risk and what they do and don't want to process. The reason why I stress this is because PayPal and Stripe are probably the payment processors that you know the best, but there are other payment processors out there. Anyone here who's ever purchased an adult clip or used Slipshine, or was it Filthy Figments, has probably gotten on their credit cards a bill for CC Bill. And CC Bill is another payment processor out there that's used in the adult sphere. CC Bill is used because it will be a little less censorious, but it takes a stronger cut because of the perceived risk of, the perceived high-risk transaction of adult content. So what will happen with CC Bill is that they will work with some adult merchants. However, they have to take a little bit more of a cut because the card networks are deeming certain adult content high risky. Additionally, even though they are an adult payment processor, CC Bill is still at risk of whatever card networks do or don't want to process. If Visa or MasterCard decides, as they often have, that they don't want to process hypnosis content, then CC Bill is essentially has to sit there and say we cannot process hypnosis content. It's out of our hands. If MasterCard or Visa says they don't want to process, content depicting, quote unquote, non-consensual sexual activity, then CC Bill is out of their hands. So I do want to stress here that calling the cards is still very, very fundamental because it is often the card network that at the end of the day is making the decisions. However, in this case, you're going to see specifically that Itch.io is not saying payment processor, but card processing networks. What they're stressing here, in my personal opinion, is they're trying to be a little bit more transparent about what exactly is going on, and that this might not necessarily be about the credit cards or debit cards alone, but they are in fact hinting that that might be a factor as well. Basically, they're not pointing at any specific person in the chain of command. They are saying it is an issue in the card processing network itself, this thing that you're looking at. Now, all of us can sit here and say specifically, who pulled the trigger in this equation? Who was the person at Steam or Itch.io? Who was the person that came up to Steam and decided you've got to call the kibosh on incest games? Who is the person in this chain of command that came to, Itch.io and Steam and bullied them a little bit over this? And it's hard to say because Steam went out of its way to say, this is about, literally the payment processors, the cards that we work with, and even internet providers, right? Basically saying ISPs. Itch.io said payment processors, pointed the finger at Collective Shout and suggested that Stripe was its most urgent situation. And Collective Shout had targeted, basically all of these except Amex, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and also targeted payment processor PayPal. So it's hard to say who pulled the trigger in this equation as well because a lot of different people were pressured, and probably for a good reason. Probably so Collective Shout and the companies combined couldn't necessarily point to a specific figure for us to pressure, for us to target, because they're all kind of covering for each other is what I'm saying. So we don't really know if one specific company pulled the trigger that led to a domino effect. We don't know if all of these companies are in cahoots. So while it's important to understand that there is this wider picture that comes into how your money is being processed when you order something, at the end of the day, it also kind of doesn't matter, because you want everyone in this equation to feel the hurt, right? You want everyone in this equation to feel like they're not liked, they're unpopular, they're not being loved for the decisions that they're making, and that they're going to face hell unless this is fixed. Because at the end of the day, if PayPal was the one that pulled the trigger on Steam and Itch.io, but MasterCard and Visa are feeling the heat, MasterCard and Visa are going to go to PayPal and say, fix this. Fix this now. We are not putting up with this any longer. We are taking too much heat for your bullshit. In the same way, if PayPal felt the heat from Visa and MasterCard, they're going to come up to the card networks and say, what the fuck? Everyone hates me now. And everyone already hates me because of that Hulk Hogan shit. Because, Peter Thiel, did the fucking thing and Hulk Hogan died. Fix this. Fix this now. Our call centers are being blown the fuck up. Why did you do this? You see what I'm saying? So it kind of doesn't matter who pulled the trigger, and in some ways it doesn't even matter to know that this is happening behind the scenes, but it kind of does, because, and this is where it does matter, you do need to pressure everyone in the equation, okay? You could argue even the banks, but a targeted and successful boycott picks a certain, or a targeted successful campaign picks a certain select number of targets. And that's why I advocate for this. Target Visa, target MasterCard, target PayPal, target Stripe. If you have time, contact the ACLU national chapter and also leave a message or contact your local chapter. I think that's the best thing you should do. Every single day, you should be contacting all of them at least once every single day. So, when you have a little bit of free time, maybe you're kind of resting, relaxing, you've got nothing to do, you want to talk to someone on the phone, just go through the numbers that work for you, call, leave a message, follow up about your case. Make sure you get a human person, and make sure you make it clear that this is, if you've already called, a repeat call, and that your quote, saw this on the news. All of that stuff will put a lot of stress on these folks. And you want to call, again, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Stripe. Not just one. You want to put calls down across the chain of events. That's why Osman hates him for real, because Hassan is hot. Hassan is hot. No, that's what I'm saying. Hey, Medicow, how are you? Hey, Seahorse Maxine. Hi, Sarah's. My bank is not MasterCard, but I have a MasterCard. I'm canceling my card over this, but switching the subscriptions over is a lot. I think definitely make sure you're contacting both your bank and MasterCard and telling them that. That's what I would say. Like, take advantage of the fact that that's something you're doing, and make sure it's a noted thing. Say, I'm canceling my MasterCard. So... if you've missed part of this explanation, I'm going to send it to Homer. Homer's going to get it up on YouTube, so don't worry. This part will be here. Now that we've talked about this and doing a successful pressure campaign, let's go step by step and look at these different themes. I'm going to talk about, in my personal experience, whether I've seen these things targeted in the past by payment processors or other sites, and generally what to keep in mind for what this means in the future. Now, first of all, I want to stress, again, looking at this, we are unable to support the sale of any works containing these topics. This essentially means that they cannot take money or get you paid for any of these works with these things. Will Itch.io end up banning content that's freely available that has these things? That is a really good question. I don't know. I don't know if payment processors will get upset anyway, if credit card companies don't want that kind of material next to stuff that they are processing payments for. I do think it's likely that if you have free content that has these things, but otherwise plays by Itch.io's rules, then you could potentially publish. But it is hard to say. It also depends a lot on what Itch.io can get away with while engaging with its payment processors. Anna, where does PayPal fit on this map? Yeah, it's the gateway cloud. PayPal is literally the payment processor. Oh, so much delicious water. All right, so let's go through this. Non-consensual content, real or implied. Content, real or implied. This is so bog standard. We see this all the time. Payment processors hate consensual non-consent content. They hate non-confiction content. They hate this stuff. They hate it so much. Every site gets hit with this. Patreon, when it was going through its hypnosis ban kind of arc in, 2019, they very specifically stressed this fact. They said, hey, very specifically, we're targeting non-consensual hypnosis content. Underage or barely legal themes. This is not surprising. This is coming into kind of the larger issue of, characters that are underage and adult content, kind of like sex themes around that. This is not really surprising in that regard. I'm sure a lot of this content was kind of de facto banned anyway. Maybe not barely legal, but, lolicon content I'm sure was often getting targeted to begin with. Incest or pseudo-incest content. So if I recall correctly, this was something that Itch.io started silently pulling about a year or so ago, maybe a little further. I remember a couple games were hit by this. This is not surprising. This is another theme commonly payment processors target. I believe Patreon was targeted with it as well. This is commonly something that comes up. This is why you also will see some places kind of get around this through the focus on, stepsister, right? Blood related. Bestiality or animal related. So I think this might be being missed by some folks. And I gotta stress this. So last month, Fansly targeted furry content under, payment processor bestiality clause and bestiality policies. And it led to basically a ban on anthropomorphic characters that were like anything more intense than like a cat girl. Like actual furry characters, right? And so Itch.io here isn't specifically saying furry content. They haven't clarified that. And it's really hard to say what bestiality or animal related is. It's hard to say, if it's like literally bestiality content where it's like literal depictions of animals having like sex with humans. It's hard to say if this is like horse cocks on like a Monster Girl character. It's hard to say if this could impact furries. What I would say is this. I think it'd be a good idea to ask for further clarification from Itch. I think it'd be a good idea to track what furry adult creators and furry creators are saying. I would stress that if this isn't a furry ban, and it might not be, that it could become a furry ban, as we've seen with Fansly. So it's hard to say what this exactly is going to look like in practice, or how this is already affecting people, but keep in mind that this is paving the way to that. It's inevitable that a payment processor knocks on Itch.io's door and says, we are very uncomfortable with adult depictions of furry characters. So again, keep that in mind. One sec, sorry. Itch suspended my free games, and maybe because of accepting donations. I think the donations might be the reason, but it's hard to say. It is good to have you, by the way, Deep Glicks. Good to have you. I might have seen mention that happening to one of their works, even if it was free, but I have to find the skeet again. Would any of these prohibitions be avoided, at least within Europe, if we had something like SEPA, but for card transactions? This is where I have to come back to this network. It's really important to find a way to get out of this network altogether, because you need to understand that a lot of this is like the whack-a-mole of this is that it often is, PayPal doesn't like processing adult content, nor does Visa and MasterCard. It's very rarely that like MasterCard, and Visa want to process it, but PayPal doesn't. It's kind of like everyone's in cahoots with each other on like trying to, on like pulling the trigger in the end. Whether it's, like what I'm saying is in the end, everyone in this equation has pulled the trigger somewhere along the line. So you kind of have to, in the end, sidestep this altogether, which is what's really challenging. Like it's really hard to get out of this, because this is just kind of how digital e-commerce works right now. Like this is just how everything on the internet works. Like it's to the point where like we would probably need to like all switch to crypto. Like this is why I've stressed that like adult devs and other folks are probably chatting with each other what to do right now, because there is like this secondary question of like, do we start like seriously trying to get people to switch to crypto? Like I'm not saying that I'm privy to those conversations or I can confirm they're happening, just that I wouldn't be surprised if they're starting to happen, because it's becoming increasingly clear that like, even if we win this, and I think we're about to, like I maybe not like literally like next week, but I think like we are going to win this fight because it's so public and so big. But even if, or you could say when we win this, this is not, the war is not over. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to come up again. So I think for a lot of devs, they're saying, well, we lost itch.io, which was kind of like a stronghold for us. Even if the guidelines come back, what the fuck do we do? And I think for a lot of folks, they are going to start looking into finding ways to get out of this equation through things like crypto, even if it is just sort of like masking what, like working with like crypto wallet websites, but masking how the crypto is used, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I actually don't know. I do think pressuring these companies in this chain is important, but it's really hard to say what solutions can be taken beyond trying to pressure them effectively until adult game developers and sex workers finish getting their heads together and decide what they want to do. Again, I'm positive those conversations are literally happening right now, where people are coming together and saying, what are we going to do? I've literally seen, people say that out loud, like, okay, guys, like, what's the play? What's the move? What's the plan? So I'm sorry, like, I know everyone here has some hard feelings about crypto, but guys, that might be where we're headed. I'm just being honest with you. There you go. You don't like it, call the banks, call the cards, call them payment processors. If you don't want to use crypto, like, maybe we can fix this. But that's kind of where we're at. Like, that is because there is just nothing else. There's just nothing else that exists. There's nothing else. There's just nothing else. I mean, like, if you want to buy porn, that's it. If you want to buy queer content, that might be the only way. Unless someone invents something, and good luck, because sex workers have tried this for a very long time. They've tried to do their own credit union or their own payment processors, and it usually falls apart. It's very hard. It's very, very, very hard. Like I talked about, CC Bill exists. They process adult payments, but you think CC Bill is going to allow your non-con, queer, lesbian, hypno content on tour? Like on your tour site? Like, get out of here. If you're working with Visa and MasterCard, if you want to use your card from your bank, no. Let me put it this way, guys. I am not going to beat the crypto drum unless I see no other way. But if that's where the writing on the wall is, then I'm going to talk about it more. Until then, it's not something I'm going to talk about much because, honest to God, I think really what is going to happen next steps is just everyone moves over to another platform a little while and we do the song and dance again, which is why I think it's important to do the call campaign, because if we win this, then we can avoid the future of potentially having to use crypto on tour, right? Because we might set a precedent that MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Stripe will cave if there is the opportunity of getting them to cave. But again, I'm not going to be dishonest with you guys. Do you want me to tell you that like everything's going to be fine? Or do you want me to tell you the truth? And the truth is that yes, there is a future where the only thing we can do is like go on tour and use crypto. Like that is like probably where things are going to head if deplatforming continues. If you don't want it to happen, then you got to pick up the phone. That's it. So I mentioned that bestiality or animal related is something to watch. We have to be careful about it. Rape, coercion, or force related. So obviously this falls in line with non-consensual content. We see rape, which obviously was a target of collective shout. Coercion and force related are interesting because once again, those are very vague. What makes something coercion? What makes something force related? Is it because you got hypnotized? Is it because, you're depicting like someone being thrown against the wall in a passionate, like rough sex love making moment? Is it like hate fucking? Enemies to lovers? What does this mean? What does this mean? And this is another issue as well where, it's kind of up to everyone in that chain, that card processing chain, to decide it. Itch.io uses these weird terms like minor presenting, not because Itch.io wants to fuck with you. It's because this is the guidance they're getting from payment processors and they're trying to leave some wiggle room for people to at least take a risk. Now, yes, of course, Itch.io is telling you, don't play, like don't push the line, but they're also at least allowing some room for you to try, like seeing if your content will get through. But this should concern you because what does this mean? I mean, this is clearly some attempt at some kind of dubcon ban, but these terms, they vary in definition for every single person. Everyone has a different read on what coercion or force related means. That's not true of, in the same way, every company is going to have a bit of a different feeling. It's really is similar to the obscenity laws of I know it when I see it. And they might know things that you don't when they see it, if you know what I mean. They might see things into your work that they might not like and tell itch.io not to process it. So understand the Kafkaesque subjective nature of all this. Sex trafficking implications, I have no idea. I have no idea how this could affect things. Could this target work about sex work? I don't know. Obviously, this does target like games where like, like it's like a non-con game where like a girl is like being, kidnapped and made to like have sex with people. So a lot of adult games like that are going to get targeted and pulled. But I also do have to similarly ask the question, how could this affect nonfiction work about sex work? How could this affect memoirs about, someone being sex trafficked? How could this affect, games that talk about these themes? We've seen that Collective Shout doesn't really seem to care about adult games alone. They also seem to be targeting things that just generally depict sensitive themes. So this opens a lot of questions for me. Revenge porn. What the fuck's porn? Revenge porn, voyeur, and hidden cam. I've seen a lot of these games on itch and Steam, and I haven't seen this really talked about, the hidden cam voyeur thing, but this is particularly alarming to me because this reads as a further escalation into sort of like further codifying what would normally, potentially fall under the umbrella of non-consensual content or sort of like coercion or force related. It's a particular hint that, games where you're spying on somebody, where you're like using a camera and you get to look at someone, those games are going to get targeted as well. And that obviously is not great. That genre is very popular. We're talking about fictional adult works. And I would say a lot of devs that were considering making or creating games like that should be very careful. They should not use itch.io right now because it's very clear that this is potentially not just here to stay, but might be advanced to other storefronts as well. I'm nervous about Steam games that have this sort of aspect being targeted. I've seen Steam games like this. So. Fetish involving bodily waste or extreme harm, scat, vomit. This is very common. Payment processors really dislike this stuff to the point where you'll usually have specialty websites that are doing scat content. I want to stress that this bodily waste thing, it's really hard to say what specifically this might also include. Does it include anything of water sports? Because we've seen a fair amount of water sports stuff on Itch. And what does extreme harm mean? Could this be something like feederism? Feederism content on Patreon is targeted under eating disorder. Not sexual content, but eating disorder. So a lot of a lot of feederism creators, feederism models that you would have operated with ease on Patreon in the past actually regularly have their content removed. I see it all the time. I see feederism models pop up. They are very popular for like a month, and then Patreon dings them and takes down their page. So I think it's important, again, to reiterate that these are vague terms. And I'm not saying that anyone's, for example, doing feederism content on itch.io is going to get targeted. What I am trying to say is that like maybe you just so happen to be the unlucky one as a feederism creator getting targeted here. Obviously, as well, it does beg the question, this stuff is not everyone's cup of tea, but why target it in the first place? I know a lot of people that enjoy disposal and scat stuff in Vor, right? It's not content that I really do publicly. I mean, like I will entertain it privately, but it's not really something I do publicly. However, I think it's really important to stress that this content is not harming anyone, right? Like, it might be yucky to a lot of people, but it's not dangerous. It's just poop. It's poop. Scat. That sounds so harmful. Poop. The poop porn is gone. The poop porn is gone. And I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but it's not hurting anyone. Why pull it? But poop funny. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there are coins of better OPSEC like Monero and Cold Wallets and stuff exchanges if you want to be really stealthy about it. I don't really want to bang the drum on crypto, but I do want to reiterate that, like, if that's what adult devs and adult artists decide to choose is the crypto route, there are a lot of trustworthy people that are going to choose things that are like good and I don't know, it could be a clusterfuck because like people might do pump and dumps as well. I don't know, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it if that's the only solution everyone has. I think the solution is going to be just to cap that conversation, that everyone just moves to another storefront for a little bit and we do this whole thing again. If a sex worker character needs to make rent as doing something they orderly would not do, is that coercion? I would say yes. Containing these topics also kind of implies that if it's, say, books educating you about the topics, they still potentially get banned, like a book about sex trafficking history and policies. That's my fear. And I don't know. We don't know until like the boundaries are pushed, even though Itch.io has demanded people not to push the boundaries. Aren't you already publicly against the second item on this list? So I addressed this and I said in terms of all content that is legal, I don't think a payment processor should be censoring it. Now, am I going to sit here and bang the drum and say Lolicon Shotacon is my favorite thing in the world? No. But if that content's legal, why should a payment processor censor it? You know? It's also important to come up with an exhaustive list of unacceptable products to sell, so often we have to take content reviews one at a time. If an issue arises with your account that isn't already covered by our policy, then we will contact you and share what options you may have. Hey, Just Theron, how are you? So just keep in mind that, again, this is the beginning, not the end of how Itch.io can approach this. So there you go. Obviously, this is a pretty major escalation. We thought something was going to come of this nature. I have no idea if there's going to be further carve-outs that Itch.io is forced to make. I think long-term there will be. I think short-term this might be the start of... This might be sort of a cap on officially confirming what Itch.io can and can't do, but who knows. Obviously, they've stressed that Stripe is a major part of this whole entire equation for them. It is a core payment processor for them. So continue to contact Stripe and PayPal around this. Just heard about this. It's not great. It's not great. But yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of open questions about what comes next, and I can't really say for sure. You're going to be posting a video about this? It seems I missed some of your commentary. Yes, they'll be sending a highlight video to to Homer, who runs my YouTube channel. So my highlights YouTube channel, I should say. It's technically not mine. So Homer will be putting this together later for anyone that missed it. I'll also publish the VOD too, so don't worry. So yeah, anyone have any questions about the Itch.io side of things? I'll include a little bit more of my take as well. We will contact you. Is like, there's almost no way they're going to use humans to do that yet. No. Also, like, it's not like there's much wiggle room. Like, if Itch.io says it's gotta go, it's gotta go. That's how it works. There's just not much. There's not much that you can do. And it's a shame. It's a shame too, because I mean, you know, it's not like you know, it's not like there's like really any room for negotiation if you're told off. You're just kind of cooked. That's kind of how it works with this stuff. Again, my advice: contact the 4 companies I've stressed contacting. It's the best thing you can do. It's really the only thing you can do for now. Besides keeping an eye out for your favorite adult content creators. So. Thank you for the sub, Retro Man. Thank you for the Prime sub. I appreciate it. Thank you for making me bigger. I've seen a lot of concern about strikes also losing you any money you might have earned from your other content Itch, which sucks a lot. That's a good point. Hi, Doling Long. How are you? So you're very scared to make the phone call, pet. Is there a script or flowchart of things I can say? Absolutely. Let me pull up MS Paint and we will discuss it. We will discuss it. So there's a lot of ways to approach things. First of all, I definitely recommend if you're someone who's nervous about making these calls, you really should. I'm going to take a rest. All good, Maxine. Great to have you. If you're someone that's nervous about making these calls, I definitely recommend having some sort of either written script or outline to rely on. Hey, Homer. I haven't been canceled yet. So far, so good. It's great to have you. I will have a highlight for you to upload later. So don't you worry. Okay. So, script. Here's what we're going to do. So, when it comes to contacting folks, your call is not going to be as long as you think, but you want the call to last over 30 seconds. I saw a really good thread on Blue Sky from a call center trainer who stressed that when a call basically hits plus 30, it started to be treated as something serious that needs to be addressed. So if you're taking the time to talk to someone and your call is over 30 seconds with them, it's going to start turning heads. And if they get 100 of those calls or 1,000 or whatever that are plus 30 seconds because of some sort of issue, it's really going to start turning heads at a call center. So your main goal is absolutely to try to get over this threshold talking to them. And I would not try to get through that threshold by going oh and very long. I would mean specifically talking things out with them. So with that out of the way, mention you would like to file a formal complaint. Lodge it, file it, that kind of rhetoric. You want to have a record on file. And you can also further ask for a case ID. To track. Explain the issue and what you may do in response. I will switch cards. Okay, so what I mean here is, say that you want to file a formal complaint. They'll ask what the complaint's about. I usually don't like to just hit the ground running so they don't hang up on me right away. I kind of like to lure them in. And I'll explain the issue to them, and I'll say, let me seal the deal here a little bit for you guys. 1 second. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. I like to tell them as well that I heard it on the news. Because I think for them, if they get a lot of complaints like this, it's going to suggest to them that this is not a matter of some random people on the internet getting angry, but that they have a public relations issue. So I like to use this phrase as well. I heard it on the news. I just slip it in some way. I'm I'm a concerned customer. I heard about this on the news. I'm not sure if you've been getting a lot of calls about it. I also like to say things I'm considering going back to Visa. I had a card earlier at this bank, but I might go back. But for this issue, or at MasterCard, when I called, I said, I've used MasterCard for a long time. I've liked using my card, but this issue has me potentially switching to Discover or Amex. So I like to phrase it that way, right? Explain the issue and say what you might do if it's not resolved. Make it clear to them that they could lose you as a customer. Say that you want it to be a formal complaint, ask for a case ID, mention, somewhat in some shape or form that you heard it on the news. The other thing that I like to stress as well, or the other thing that I want to say is, if you have a card, have it ready. Oftentimes they're going to ask for your card ID. This doubles as a way to confirm that you're actually a customer. So remember how I mentioned it's okay to lie. Just make sure you're a good liar, right? Make sure, right, that if you say you're a MasterCard customer, but you're not. Be ready. They're going to ask for your card number. But if you are a MasterCard user and you have no plans of switching over to Visa, but you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know, I might switch. Oh, and here's my card number, by the way, currently. You know, that's good. That's good because it demonstrates to them that you are a MasterCard customer, you know, that it makes it a little bit more credible, right? Like you're not just calling because you're angry. You're calling because you use their product. You are a concerned customer. So just keep that in mind as well. Be ready. They're probably going to ask for your card number. I should send an email. Oh, definitely. I'm composing one now as I'm speaking with you. Can you also please forward me to your supervisor? Oh, yes. Sarah, you reminded me. When in doubt, channel your inner Karen. Yes. Not literally. Please be polite. Please be polite. Please be polite. If you feel like you're getting you're getting dodged, can I chat with a supervisor? It might take a little bit of Visa. I had to basically scream into the hold music, and then I think they realized I was still there, and then they picked me up. But you definitely want to say this as well, and this will get you also up to that 30+ seconds mark. So if you feel like you're being dodged, don't be afraid to do that. It's okay to be a little bit of a Karen over this. Remember, this corporation is trying to fuck you. Not literally, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But, you know, they're trying to fuck you over. They're trying to fuck you over. Try to escalate up the chain. Exactly. Remember, they're trying to fuck you over. Your job is... Oh, I've been recording this the whole time. That's so base. Your job is to not get fucked over. Okay. Next up. Thanks. Thank you. I like to do this as a courtesy. Every time. If they're nice to me. If polite. Like if they're treat me really badly, then I'm not going to thank them. Like if they're like snapping at me. But I think it's really important to also be courteous because you could win over that person on the other side of the call, you know? Like they might not say this to your face, but they might go home, look up this issue and be like, yeah, what is going on at this company I work with? I don't like this either. So if you set up a nice, polite front, even if like you kind of hate that you even have to do this, but if you're nice about it, you could win someone over or at least send the message to this company that they are not going to get like savage, terrible, awful people calling them, but they are going to get a lot of people calling them and they're going to be polite about it, but they're going to keep calling. And so it makes it, they're more likely to take a sympathetic ear towards you, right? If you make yourself sound like you're screeching, there's potentially also a high chance that we don't even get through to them because they hear like, I'm talking about Steam, and then they just hang up on you. So, you know, I used to, I was very familiar with like, okay, back in the day, I called a GameStop with like an AT&T like text-to-speech call system, whereas like someone would pick up the phone and like say whatever you were told to say to the other person on the other line. And like they couldn't say like specifically, I mean, they couldn't like not say what you told them. So I used it, and you guys gotta understand, I was like 13. Like I didn't know that I shouldn't do this, but I used it to call like the GameStop literally down the street and ask them if they had Battletoads. And I was shocked. I was shocked to see the message I got back in the AT&T like text to speech call thing, where it was the other person on the other line was like screeching through text. They were like, if you ever call here again, like, I swear to God, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And I was like, I'm just asking for Battletoads. I saw the funny thing on 4chan. I don't know why you're yelling at me. I wanted to be funny, you know, like. But I was, like, appalled. I didn't realize people could get that mad at me. And you could do that for free at the time, too. You could do that for free at the time. You could just, like, have some random person, like, take the call for you. And, like, they would have to say whatever you tell them to. Oh my God, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I like to speak to the manager. Karen's probably, yeah. I don't know. I presented Syscon Canon today, based. I would like to get into the Syscon Canon. That sounds so fun. So, does this answer your question, Gossop Girl? I want to remind you guys too, when in doubt, you can always have a friend do all this for you, okay? So, if you are very nervous, if you just cannot stomach it, please don't be afraid to ask a friend to do it on your behalf. A lot of people will do this for you on your behalf. Now, you might not want to have the same friend do it every day, but like you can ask different friends maybe. But please don't also be afraid if this is just really hard for you. A lot of people will say, you know, I'm calling on behalf of someone I know and something like that. So don't be afraid to do that either, just in case, right? It's something you can do. You could ask a family member, you can ask a friend, a loved one, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your MB friend, your mistress, your sub, your dom, your strange switch, you know, so. I will tell my friend to make the call immediately. Hell yeah, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Very good, very good, very good. Okay. How are we feeling? Are we feeling energized to make phone calls? Type 1 if you're eager to call today. If you're eager to get out the word. Type 1. I want to see that. I want to see the delicious, yummy engagement. Oh, hell yeah. That's 1-1. Can I get more than 1-1? Oh, another one, a second one. That's at least 2 calls. That's at least 2 calls. That's crazy. But can I call from Australia? Yes, there's many Australian numbers as well. I would recommend hitting up the website in the ticker and in the pinned. That will be able to help you make further conclusions, for sure, about who you can call. But there are Australian numbers that you can hit up. One 11. It's the weekend. Will it still work? Yes. Don't stop just because it's the weekend. Still do it. If anything, it will show and it will prove that you still care about this issue. It doesn't matter, you know, whether it's like, you know, like Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. Still do it. So that's my advice. Okay. Let's switch gears and talk about the ongoing censorship that's currently happening. Let's talk about the ongoing censorship. I'm first just confirming really quickly if there's anything new they should look at. If there's any new updates in the wild. Ichio just released a list of no fetishes. Alright, let's see. Okay. All right. So, you're going to switch over to talking about games censored on Steam. Let's do it. Yeah, it's going to be a long effort. Might as well still be calling the weekends. It's important for everyone here to remember that this is probably going to last for a little while. That you're probably going to be making these calls for the next couple weeks. So pace yourself and don't be afraid to hit the ground running, but also understand that these calls are going to get easier over time. You know, I was very nervous when I made my first calls, right? Because I usually actually don't do these call campaigns. I usually just get the word out. And over time, it's going to get easier. You're going to get more familiar with it. You're going to get more comfortable with confronting people. This is the groundwork of exposure therapy, right? When you expose yourself to the scary thing and you realize it's not so scary, it still is a little scary the next time, but it gets even less scary when you're done, and less scary until you are a pro at this and you can be a Karen with anybody. It occurs to me there's a lot of non-con in the size community. Absolutely. We are very lucky that our fetish is basically considered a little too silly, I think, in the eyes of payment processors. They just don't really read it as like something to target, but it's got a lot of unwilling content. I mean, literally unwilling vor. That's just non-consensual vor. You know, it's non-consensual sex stuff. So, all right. So we're gonna talk about this. Is from originally GameSpark, Japanese publication. This is how I first saw the news. I will give credit where credit's due. I actually saw this article on 4chan first. I am not a 4chan user, save for reading VT for work, the VTuber board, but I did know that 4chan is potentially doing some activist work on this issue as well, so I want to see what was up on V. Thank you for the follow, by the way. I appreciate it, Lena D. And so, while I was on V, I stumbled across this. Now, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I should say, I can't show you 4chan on Twitch. Why? it's actually a banned site. You're not allowed to go on 4chan on Twitch. Probably makes sense, right? Because anything could pop up at any moment. And also, you know, there's just people saying slurs everywhere. So, you know, it's like the less fun part of 4chan is that. But I did see this on 4chan first, so props to V for finding it. And I read through the translated article. I'll read it with you guys together. Keep in mind this is originally in Japanese, so it's not going to sound it's going to sound like it was run through a machine to translate it. But that's all good. That's fine. Let's talk about it after I take a nice sip of delicious water. I got this like new Brita filter bottled water, and I feel so weird drinking from it because it has a straw and I'm used to just going like, so I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm sucking on something, like I'm slurping. People on Foreskin Chan says slurs like how Vikings say spam. That's like so true. Especially as it's a rote process, I get much more comfortable once I've done the same thing a few hundreds times. Yeah, I mean, like it doesn't really change much. It's got a certain kind of flow to it. Like when I'm done streaming, the first thing I'm gonna do is make my calls. So, Steam Store continues to remove adult games as of July 26. Many new titles removed. Several more adult games have been removed. Recently, games containing adult content have been removed from the Steam Store, and SteamDB has confirmed that several new games were removed on July 26. Steam has published guidelines for developers on, quote, what should not be published on Steam. On July 16th, it was reported that a new 15th criterion had been added regarding certain types of adult-only content which did not previously exist. Following the establishment of these new guidelines, it was confirmed on July 16th and 17th that adult games were indeed being removed from the Steam Store. Then on July 19th, GameSpark, the Japanese outlet in question here, received a comment from Valve, which operates the store, stating that the removals were at the request of credit card payment agents and banks. Regarding the removal of adult games, adult game maker Poison reported on July 22nd that some of its titles had been removed and that inquiries were pending, and on July 24th, Itch.io also shadow banned adult content due to pressure from payment providers. This is the de-indexing that you all should know. Also, interesting point, this actually kind of, I kind of skimmed through this and didn't actually realize this before. GameSpark received a comment from Valve, which operates the store, saying that the removals were, quote, at the request of credit card payment agents and banks. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So there you go. Now, that's a translation. I would probably want to talk to someone who actually speaks Japanese to get a better understanding of what that is, but I was right, guys. The credit card companies. And the banks, but the credit card companies. There you go. All right. As of July 26, adult games continue to be removed, such as Pregnant Demon, Big-Breasted Demon Girl Violated by a Wicked Monster. As of July 26th, the removal of adult games from Steam has not yet been completed, as can be seen on the unofficial database site SteamDB. According to the update history for the Steam app on the site, Agent Mirai was removed at around 6 a.m. on July 26th, followed by Harami Oni Big-Breasted Demon Girl Violated by Brutal Monsters at around 7 a.m., and then 10 more adult games removed by around 10 a.m. I'm going to go on SteamDB later and confirm some of these. Although details by each individual removal are unclear, it appears the trend of removing adult games, which began with the addition of guidelines on Steam, has not yet stopped as of July 26. So shout out to GameSpark for breaking that. This was not known, and so I can't hover over specific games over here because it will show up a lot of NSFW content, but I did take some time to confirm it. We have a couple games here that were removed at approximately... there you go. Now I can't publish this VOD. Well, let's choose a game that's probably, not gonna get me in trouble. What was that, like 9 p.m. yesterday? So it was at night, last night. We had a wide assortment of games dominated by yandere goth mommy. My sadistic yandere goth mommy mercilessly dominates me. My tomboy bully uses me as her punching bag. Dominated by sadistic MILF landlord. Cousin's house. Ogre's ambition. dominated by sadistic... Oh, wait. I think I read that one. Animus non grata. And then we also have additionally... we saw as well... Where is it? Oh, fuck. Where was it? Oh, here we go. Agent Mirai and the Submission Machines was also removed as well. So, there you go. A couple games. So, it's continuing. It's hard to say exactly. Oh, Pregnant Ogre. We also lost Pregnant Ogre, which was mentioned up, and I can't put that on Steam. On. Wife wants NTR. Sex love story. I love click. Pulled. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. It looks like another one too. Yep. Even recently, even this morning, continues. 2 hours ago, they pulled a couple. Amputee sex slave. So there you go. It looks clear to me that some of these games are targeted. Let's go down a little bit. So we see, Yandere goth mommy, sadistic MILF. But Tomboy Bully uses me as her punching bag. That seems very clearly more in the non-con realm. So it seems clear to me that we do have this mix of, incest games, but also non-con games being pulled. Anapunk 2077. Crazy how 4chan is deemed that bad that Twitch banned it. Well, you need to understand there's also one that's like there's so much like, stuff like on pull that's like bigotry, but also like you never know if like, material that's like going to break Twitch TOS is going to show up. So it's just so unpredictable, Remember one time I contacted Clips for Sale to ask if they would let me post games, and I said, as I saw they had comics and PDF books, they said no. I'm not surprised because of this stuff. Twitch should allow you to add censor boxes for your VODs. Real overlooked feature. I wish. I think Twitch probably doesn't even want to give people the feeling of like that they can get away with it. That they can get away with like, oops, I accidentally showed a nipple. Because that could happen on like pool streams otherwise. So, but yeah, I mean. There you go. The bans continue until morale improves. It's still going on. It's still going on. It's very clear that it's still going on. This is not stopping. Which is why you got to pick up the phone and call. Because Steam's working overnight and on weekends to remove these games. So you got to work on weekends to protect these games. Bans continue until more calls go through. Exactly. So there you go. It's not stopping. I'll do a quick look, see if there's any other news that has hit the TL, hit the timeline around this issue. Otherwise, we'll probably keep the stream short. I just want to mostly do an explainer. Does anyone have any questions about any of this stuff that we've been discussing? I'm doing a quick look to see if there's any not anything new around this stuff as well. Let's see. News Nation, some video game marketplaces scrapping adult content. Otaku USA. Aftermath wrote about it. It shares a lot of everything that will get a game banned from its storefront from the gamer. Boing Boing, organized stop payment processors deciding what you can buy. Alright. This is interesting. Okay, we got News Nation. Let's talk about Boing Boing. That's still a pretty big article to come out. Boing Boing's Boing Boing, so they boing boing. Payment processors such as Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and Stripe are extending their control of what you can spend your money on. This authoritarian and censorial trend received more attention this week after they forced software platforms Steam and itch.io to remove or delist adult-themed games. Freedom-loving Americans are rallying to respond. It's up to you to make the costs clear to these companies. First, the ACLU taking aim at MasterCard and your unjust policy. The policy itself imposes strict and invasive requirements on adult content websites using MasterCard's financial services, including pre-approval of all content before publication, forbidding certain search terms, and monitoring the age and identity verification process for all performers. The stated intent of this is to prevent child sexual abuse material and other non-consensual content, but the policy only applies to websites that host adult content when all available evidence indicates that these problems proliferate across all kinds of sites. A Change.org petition, already with more than 100,000 signatures, hopes to catch their attention. Tell MasterCard, Visa, and activist groups stop controlling what we can watch, read, or play. We demand that MasterCard, Visa, and their pressure partners stop censoring legal fictional content that complies with the law and platform standards. Reject influence from activist groups that promote moral panic or misinterpret fiction as harm. Be fully transparent about content restrictions and the rationale behind them. Protect creators' rights to make legal adult content and ensure a fair appeals process for any penalized media. The Financial Censorship Call campaign offers a template for respectfully calling your representatives. It'd be even better if you wrote your own thing, however short. There's a thread on Reddit for discussion of payment processors. Here's a website collecting advice and information on how to fight back, including contact information for the payment processors themselves. Payment processors have caved to the outcry of a small right-wing puritanical group who wants to dictate what adults can or cannot buy with their own money, and is setting a dangerous precedent that threatens the future of independent art on the internet. Many livelihoods are at risk because of the outcry of a niche of people who seek to restrict artistic freedom. With your help, we can speak louder. Be respectful. Don't abuse the humans you get through to, but make sure they can't ignore you. And so we have over here, this is another site. I didn't include it in the ticker above, but it's really good. Stop Payment Processors from Censorship. I highly recommend checking out this one as well. It has a lot of good information. And then there's Financial Censorship Call campaign. This is a really good script. Oh my goodness, this is really good. It's got talking points. Woo! And then things you can do to counteract payment processors harming Itch.io. Posted 2 days ago on Itch.io. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. Contact congressmen, congresspeople. Financial Protection Bureau, Department of Justice, Federal Trade Commission. And the Change.org petition. 2.1k upvotes. Not bad. Not bad, Reddit. Not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty good to see. Pretty good to see. If the payment were to go to Bitcoin, wouldn't it still require approval from banks? Coinbase still interacts with CC companies with the banks. I mean, you can literally just send it to someone's wallet. Like, you can just use like a hardware wallet, you know. You think Itch.io posted a link to that Reddit post but removed the post about an hour later? I don't know. I don't know. Hard to say. See what else is being discussed. If there's any other articles that have come out. Polygon wrote about it. Let's see who did. Patricia Hernandez at Polygon wrote about it. We'll read that. We'll read that. That's pretty good. I'm glad even though the Valnat stuff went through that there's some kicking going on there. Kotaku. Let's see. Steam users rally behind anti-censorship petition. And another Boing Boing article too. Game Rant. Okay. 5 days ago. 5 days ago. Ethan Gatch. Another Bling Bling article, kind of similar to the other one. Let's read what Patricia had to say. I like Patricia a lot. She got me connected with Polygon for to write my Subverse article for them many years ago. She's a good advocate on this issue in general. There was a time when she wanted me to be managing editor for Kotaku, and she really stressed that she wanted me to bring the NSFW games coverage there. So anything she has to say about this stuff, I trust. Adult games are forced... Also, this is pretty ballsy to publish in the era of Valnet. Real props to Patricia on this one. Wow. Adult games are forcing the game industry into a spiritual crisis. Itch.io joins Steam in pulling games due to pressure from payment processors. Itch.io is the latest storefront to curb the sale of adult and quote-unquote NSFW content on its platform due to pressure from payment processors like Visa and MasterCard. As of Thursday, the indie-focused platform has de-indexed adult content such that it is no longer visible or searchable on the site. Some pages for adult games on will be, quote, permanently removed from Itch.io, quotes its owners say. The situation developed rapidly. We had to act urgently to protect the platform's core payment infrastructure, wrote Itch.io creator Leaf, I can never pronounce his name, Corcoran, in a blog post. Unfortunately, this meant it was not realistic to provide creators with advance notice before making this change. My personal feeling, I think I've discussed it before, but I really think they should have had a PR statement ready to go. This strikes me as like a basic, like, have it drafted 5 years ago, just bring it out of like, you know, the drawer, touch it up with the specifics and publish it as soon as this is going. I'm shocked that they weren't ready for this. Like, did they expect not to be targeted this way? They already were. We know this is not ideal, and we apologize for the abruptness of this change. Itch.io's move arrives after major PC gaming platform Steam also started to crack down against sex games that result in the delisting of hundreds of titles. A Valve representative tells Polygon that Steam enacted these changes due to payment processors and that the company complied because, quote, loss of payment methods would prevent customers from being able to purchase other titles and game content on Steam. Itch.io similarly stated in its announcement that while the decision to stop selling adult games feels sudden, it moved quickly to protect the platform's core payment infrastructure. Currently, Itch.io is undergoing a comprehensive audit to examine potentially offending games to ensure that they meet the requirements set forth by payment processors. Neither Valve or Itch.io shared any specifics on what exactly those requirements are, and the lack of clarity has proven contentious for game developers and fans alike. In the future, creators of NSFW games will need to confirm that their games follow the vaguely defined payment processor compliance measures before they can sell games on the platform. On social media, the adult games issue has become a caustic one as onlookers fear the potential long-term repercussions of allowing third parties to dictate what is and isn't accessible on a platform. Outrage has also spilled over the knowledge that many of these game removals are happening due to a campaign levied by the conservative Australian group Collective Shout. Back in April, the Collective wrote an open letter to payment processors claiming that platforms like Steam were, quote, profiting from rape, incest, and child abuse games. The letter lists a number of executives at these companies by name and title. Collective Shout's main argument against the sale of games with adult themes is the existence of a game titled, quote, titled No Mercy, which allowed players to sexually assault women as they saw fit. However, the No Mercy was pulled off of Steam the day before the open letter was penned. While some games do touch on topics listed in the open letter, a number of games do not, but the games have been impacted all the same. I would add with No Mercy, it's not so much that it allowed players to sexually assault women as they saw fit, as it was a visual novel with certain like decision choices that was an incest non-con game. That's how I describe it. I honestly think some of the anxiety over No Mercy was overblown by people just kind of seeing what Collective Shout was complaining about and walking lockstep with it. Not just Collective Shout, a lot of organizations. For some, the sale of games with unsavory subjects does not seem like a hill worth dying on. In this case, the furor is driven by the knowledge that Collective Shout isn't really against games like No Mercy. It's also waged a campaign against titles like Detroit Become Human, Quantic Dreams adventure game that is decidedly not a, quote, adult game, and titles like Hentai Puzzle, Dating Sim Honey Pop. The worry is that by bucking to pressure from groups like Collective Shout, platforms like Steam pave the way for more extreme censorship measures. It is a very fucking slippery slope. Wow, F-bomb, and a very quick slope for the right-wing religious group to go from no sex games to no games with any LGBTQ themes either, reads one Reddit comment on the controversy. The slippery slope argument has caught traction because Collective Shout has already shown contempt for games like Grand Theft Auto 5, which, while controversial, is not comparable to a game designed solely for the purposes of simulating assault. Onlookers fear that the group will move on to other targets that merely contain sex in some form or other after it successfully lobbies against games primarily focused on sex. Another aspect that's added fuel to the fire is that platforms like Steam and Itch.io delisting adult content has already had consequences outside of the realm of storefronts. Vice Gaming Vertical Waypoint covered the topic earlier this week, only to see its article on Collective Shout pulled by management. The author of the original article, alongside a handful of other freelancers, quit in revolt. Elsewhere, gamers are starting to mobilize against Collective Shout. Attention is being called to a bill that proposes limiting the extent to which payment processors can interfere with business decisions on the basis of political or reputational concerns. Fans are urging others to contact their local government representatives to voice their concerns. A petition against payment processors has garnered 48,000 votes on change.org, and there are errant discussions about starting a movement much like the one behind Stop Killing Games. I think that's a good idea. I think there should be something like SKG for this. Whether or not these actions will make a difference in the sale of adult games is unclear, but the discussions around the topic have taken an existential turn. Platforms like itch.io were celebrated because of their willingness to sell games that couldn't exist on other storefronts, and creators of adult games have been some of the platform's biggest champions. The immediate yielding to parties with ill intentions has eroded goodwill towards these platforms, if not shattered the illusion that the PC is an emancipated space compared to more buttoned-up landscape of consoles. For others, pressure from payment processors are an affront to their very identities. My community has routinely been unjustly targeted by bigots who often use porn bans as a means to justify the banning as non-pornographic content, reads one comment on the online petition. As a result, I am heavily opposed to any and all banning of sexual content because banning sexual content never stops there. It always includes non-sexual things. As such, the fight to protect people's right to sexual expression is vital for protecting my right to exist. itch.io's creator says that he will share more information on what's allowed on the platform in the future. For now, though, he's apologetic about this turn of events. I'm sorry we cannot share more at this time, as we are still getting a full understanding of the situation ourselves, he wrote. All right. I would say it's a pretty good overview from Patricia. Pretty good overview. I have a difference in how I would discuss No Mercy, but I don't think our difference in approach is that serious overall. I think this is a pretty good intro right up to the issue and goes over a lot of it. It's pretty good. Not surprised. I really like Patricia. I think she's a great journalist. I mean, she's literally like one of the best in the field. Massive props to her for covering, and also massive props to covering in the era of Polygon Post acquisition. I think that takes some massive cojones, some massive balls. So, can you share the news link? Yes, of course. Happy to. Oh, you already got me, Seraph. I will for future articles as well. They want to discuss. Let's see. Credit card companies censoring adult content endangers democracy itself, according to Nier Automata director. We'll read this one too. This is from Ethan. Ethan is now a coworker of mine, but we were coworkers at Killscreen. Now we're coworkers at Kotaku because I started contributing there. So just a heads up, that there's a whatchamacallit, disclosure agreement, as they say. I'm all up in that disclosure. But even before we started working together, I've read Ethan's work for a long time. He's a very good reporter. As a fight with credit card companies over adult games leads to renewed concerns about censorship on Steam and even on indie platforms like itch.io, a recent warning by Nier Automata director Yoko Taro calling censorship a security hole that endangers democracy itself has become relevant again. Is it a different form of killing games? There hasn't been an official stop censoring games thing yet, but there is, as Patricia reported, there is a sort of rumbling of trying to do that. So we'll see what happens. It's hard to say right now what's going to. I really think there should be, because even if Steam and itch.io reverses these policies, there's still a very long road ahead on trying to win this kind of fight. This is actually really just one battle in a larger war. So the comments came last November when the Manga Library Z online repository for digital downloads of out-of-print manga was forced to shut down. The group blamed international credit card companies, presumably Visa and MasterCard, who wanted the site to censor certain words from its copies of adult manga. Again, reminder here, it's often the cards that are demanding these things. Publishing in similar fields have always faced regulations that go beyond the law, but the fact that a payment processor which is involved in the entire infrastructure of content distribution, can do such things as, at its own discretion, seems to me to be dangerous on a whole new level, Taro wrote in a thread at the time, according to translation by Automaton. And he continued, it implies that by controlling payment processing companies, you can even censor another country's free speech. I feel like it's not just a matter of censoring adult content or jeopardizing freedom of expression, but rather a security hole that endangers democracy itself. Couple things I want to note about here. I think it's really important to note MasterCard and Visa here. These are American companies censoring Japanese content. So this is no longer an issue of an international company or an American company censoring American individuals. As I mentioned on Nicotine's stream yesterday, this, and I think this is often missing in this conversation, but I want to stress it this way. This is a form of imperialism, guys, okay? This is an American company coming in and telling Japanese citizens what they can and cannot do. That is by nature imperialistic. American company has no right telling Japanese citizens what they can and cannot purchase. Why are our cultural values being thrust onto them? That makes no sense. But also, I think it's important to stress here as well, not just this is an issue of imperialism, but I think it's easy for Westerners to forget that this is a global issue too. Japanese citizens are very concerned about this issue. They're very, very, very concerned about it. I'm going to talk about this more when I look at the visa situation on stream here. But I think it's important to remember that this is a global issue with global advocates around it. This is not just something that is like a couple Americans upset about and a couple people in the UK and maybe France or Spain. This is an issue that is really... Let me put it this way. I was contacted by a Japanese writer that wanted to know more about the censorship of my articles and the larger issues at play because the censorship of my articles were reaching the Japanese content creation kind of world, adult content creation sphere, censorship sphere. And there was this real feeling that what I experienced was connected to issues they were facing. So I want to stress here that this is not even just about, you know, what Americans can and cannot buy. We're talking about American companies deciding what people in other countries can buy and what speech they have the right to. And we're talking about people across the world upset about this issue. And I think that's particularly gross. I think it's particularly disgusting. I think this is needs to be framed that way, that this is an issue of basically America telling the world what they can and can't enjoy. And that's not right. That is authoritarian and is in my opinion, it's a form of imperial control by nature. It is actually, I think, representative of one of the ongoing continuous ways in which American cultural imperialism exists in the world. It's not just through Hollywood, and it's not just through popular Western media. It's through financial institutions telling people what they can do. Manga Library Z was eventually able to come back online thanks to a crowdfunding campaign earlier this year, but now video game developers behind adult games with controversial themes are facing similar issues on Steam and itch.io due to recent boycott campaigns. Some artists and fans have been organizing reverse boycotts, calling for Visa, MasterCard, and others to end their quote-unquote moral panic. One such petition has nearly 100,000 signatures so far. Quote, some of these games that have been caught up in the last day's changes on itch are games that up-and-coming creators have made about their own experiences in abusive relationships or dealing with trauma or coming out of the closet and finding their first romance as an LGBTQ person. NYU Game Center Chair Naomi Clark told 404 Media this week. Naomi Clark, total goat. Love Naomi. I think she's very, very... I think she's someone who's kind of like constantly... has really good insight about these issues. I've been a fan of hers and her work and her art for a minute. She also did a really good adult card game called Consenticles. She mentioned Jenny Jiao Hizia's autobiographical Consume Me. I actually met Jenny many years ago and knew that this was coming. Also, I'm very sorry, Jenny, if I butchered your name. As one example of the type of work that could be censored under the platform's shifting definition of what's acceptable. This is really tragic because I remember like seeing Jenny's work in 2016, and I remember like meeting her and seeing like what she was working on, and to see this kind of be like the culmination of some of her art, like to be censored this way is like particularly painful to see. She's very talented. We've hit peak summer and probably the biggest lull in the release calendar we're going to get until the holiday. That doesn't mean... Oh, wait, no, this is another article. This is another article. Whoops! I write for them. I don't even know how their like bottomless scroll works these days. What's the no for an ice cream pie? Oh, that's right. Nicotine's VOD went up to YouTube a bit ago. Oh, base. Yeah, that's wrong on a lot of fronts. One topic I've not seen commented is that if these contents are not available anywhere, people will just pirate them. I think it's also true. Although, at some point, you know, creators can't create stuff if they don't make money either. So, you know, like me as a journalist, you know, I can probably just write and do like gaming streams too as a VTuber and then create adult content for free. Like, that's something I'm happy to do. Like, if I eventually make enough money, I'll just publish all my ASMRs for free. But potentially, if it's possible. Like, I'd have to look at the numbers. But, you know, also, like, excuse me. I think as well, these games can be pirated, but the creators might not be able to create as many. So, a lot of this is also about protecting creators to continue to be able to create games. That's a major issue. Let's see if there's any other things popping out there on the interwebs about this right now. The interwebs. Why did I call it that? It's just the internet. It's just called the internet. We just call it the internet. Why do I have to quantify it? The interwebs. We got Tweaktown, wrote about Itch.io yesterday. Taco USA, MSN. 24 Matins, UK. MasterCard, Visa. IBT. We'll see what else drops. Pop, pop, because it's cute to call it a web. True. Interwebs is just a fun term. Yeah, it makes me sound like it's 2007. I'm on the interwebs. Let me see what else is popping up. Through Google search. Explain like I'm 5. Why can't Steam and itch.io still sell adult games? That's on Reddit. Let's see. No Luxurious talked about me and did a video. Oh, Vouch? No, bruh. Strange Bedfellows. No. No, I don't like Vouch. I don't like Vouch. That's so funny. That's so funny. Are we gonna have to watch Vouch here? Valve no longer controls Steam. It's another video. I feel like any topic you publicly pose, you help decide that you pose because your takes are horrendous. Okay. This person has not been paying attention to what I've done on social media. Bro does not understand that I was literally in Charlie's video. This is why we're here. Like, no offense, but the fact that my article got censored did cause a massive strides and effect on this issue. I think we still would have had a public outrage about it, but the feeling that, like, you can't even talk about this because you might get, like, censored played a very significant role in at least turning some heads. But even then, before I got censored, you know, my article was on Charlie's stream, you know, like it was read all over the place. So. Media literacy is a waste on some people. It's just so funny. It's just so funny. I mean, why do you guys think I'm talking about this issue? Because I got so many people to fucking call MasterCard. I wouldn't talk about this if, like, actual people told me to shut the fuck up. You are a flashpoint for more eyes to get on this issue. Yeah, I took advantage of that, you know. I took advantage of that. Well, I did. You know, I did, though. Like, I didn't want this to become, like, pat my butt and say I'm a good girl because I love Vice. Like, I wanted to actually, you know, I've been reporting on this issue for 7 years. It's been very frustrating because I also am an adult dev, right? I'm a VA, right? I'm an adult VA. So it matters to me a lot what happens with this. But also, even if, you know, even if it didn't, you know, I reported on this issue because I care about it, because I think it's important. I think it's a free speech issue. And also I think, you know, I think it's interesting, not in the way that, like, I think watching a sports game is interesting, but I think it's interesting in the sense that it's a flashpoint issue for free speech in American society. You know, people don't really want to, and global society, people don't really want to sit there and say, you know, like, you know, people don't want to sit there and defend, you know, the rape incest games. And I think it's curious why they don't, but they do want to defend the larger free speech issue. And I think it's curious why they do. So, of course, I'm going to talk about it. Okay. No, it's okay, Gossip Girl. You're good. It kind of snuck in there. Alrighty. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to see what the fuck does Vaush say about all this. Because, okay, I don't really like Vaush, but I am curious. And I think it would be funny if I end up disliking what he says. I'm sorry, guys, but we're going to do it.
Itch.io is a
React
website,
content
with a bunch of, among other things, little games. That's what I know it for, at least. You know, you little indie games, tiny little indie games.
Okay.
Oh, not this. No, it's a really, really, really big deal. You know, I've talked about this before in the context of Tumblr or like what you know, people's Patreons or PayPals or whatever. But after pressure from payment processors like MasterCard, you know, itch.io has removed all not safe for work content from the entire site. I mean, we're talking about an enormous, like, any piece of media or art that was, you've titties out or something, just the payment processors won't allow it now. Not the porn. No, I didn't say porn.
Okay, wait a minute, Vaush. Wait a minute.
There's like MasterCard, but after pressure from payment processors like MasterCard, you know, itch.io has removed all not safe for work content from the entire site. I mean, we're talking about an enormous, like, any piece of media or... Okay,
I know I was going to read the article and stuff, but I think as a journalist, it's really important to clarify what we mean when we say things like remove, right? Because they de-indexed everything. They kind of like, they pulled it from search, but they didn't outright remove it. And the word does matter because, you know, it's how misinformation spreads.
Art that was, you've titties out.
You'll notice, like, even with the payment processor stuff, like, I took a lot of time yesterday and today to, like, clarify what a payment processor is, using the term colloquially versus specifically for that reason. Because I want people to understand, like, the specifics and not walk away with the wrong information.
Or something, just... the payment processors won't allow it now. Not the porn. No, I didn't say porn.
Yep.
I said any not safe for work content. Have you enjoyed Grand Theft Auto? Have you enjoyed the Witcher games? What about Baldur's Gate? Any not safe for work content. That was the line there. Now, mind you...
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Vouch. Let's get a little more specific. Okay. This is the official language. We have de-indexed all adult NSFW content from our browse and search pages. We understand this action is disruptive, and we're truly sorry for the loss. My understanding is that was specifically games tagged NSFW.
I apologize for being woker than thou, but porn is art. I don't think that the payment processors should be categorically disqualifying websites from hosting pornography either. That's insane. Like, that's several steps beyond what Texas and such are already doing, which is like it's like age verification to go on Pornhub or whatever. Like, it's just banning it outright, which is insane. Like, it's just a unfathomable level of control being exercised by a monopoly of payment processors who are trying to appeal to the political sensibility.
Thank you for the follow, by the way. Appreciate it, Chris.
Abilities of satanic panic type concerned mothers, you know? Yes, Steam is also trying to do something like this, or they're pressuring Steam likewise. Steam recently banned a bunch of, they didn't ban all not safe for work content. They banned, like, games that were, like, porn games about incest or something, which, whatever your opinions on that, I categorically reject this, like, creeping invasion of payment oh, you're right, it is on screen right now. Of payment processors dictating what will or won't be allowed on websites.
Yeah.
I thought this was Visa. MasterCard and Visa. I mean, those are the two big ones, right? They banned an actual rape game. Listen, if you want to ban a rape game, I think that's fine. I would just like it if Steam did that with Steam's terms of service.
I agree with Vouch on this one. I think if you're I think if your storefront decides to make that, I'm still gonna sit there and say I don't. I'm a fan of non-con content. It's something I create. I think it should be allowed on websites. Maybe if like NSFW warnings, make sure have the little 18+ disclaimer. But I do agree with Vouch in this one. Like I've said, for me, this is the principled issue that payment processors shouldn't be able to make this decision.
Not a bunch of evil corporate payment processing overlords saying, no, sorry, we've gotten too many letters written in from like suburban mothers. You're actually going to have to eliminate like 40% of the content on the site or something. That's absolutely terrifying. They've done this with PayPal and Patreon as well, like people, for example, who make a living off of drawing not safe work art, like say they're drawing furry porn or whatever, many such cases. There have been people who have lost their incomes because this nanny state tyrannical crackdown is hitting them too. It's crazy. They did do this with OnlyFans for a while. Yes. Yeah. I think this is the bill that would affect this crap. Well, it's not even the bill. I mean, the payment processors are doing this on their own. It's terrifying. Oh, by the way, itch.io, they didn't just delist it. If you had the game in your library and your account, they removed it. So they just straight up deleted your money.
I think this depended on the game. I would have to clarify. I'd have to clarify and double check. But if I recall correctly, some games could, some games couldn't. I think it varied.
Essentially, they didn't even.
In the same way, some people could pull out their money and some people couldn't. Was my impression.
Been like delisted from being purchased again. They just removed it entirely from, which is contrary to how itch.io typically functions. They're not Steam. Itch.io is pretty like They don't do the DRM thing. Isn't that straight up illegal? Arguably, yeah. Did they refund? My understanding is that they did not. Wasn't that the whole selling point of itch? The fact that you actually own the games you download? Yeah, a huge part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very, very bleak. Like, we're talking about, in all likelihood, games like Grand Theft Auto 6 or whatever, or Cyberpunk or The Witcher, any other big high-profile game like that, they're going to be allowed to have titties. But this kind, because money, right? But this kind of cultural puritanism enforced by payment processors, again, not even by the sites that host them, but by the processing, MasterCard, Visa, maybe a few others, it's deeply totalitarian. Do you really want them to have the final say on what is or isn't allowed, what you get to make your living off of? Because you can't even appeal, right? You can't even appeal. It's being done. What are you going to do? Send an appeal letter to MasterCard? It's not like you can message itch.io and go like, hey, what the man? You just destroyed like my entire category of games that I made because there were tits drawn in them or something.
This is actually not a bad take from Vouch. I think he's on point on this. I think there's some aspects of this where I can tell that there's some information gaps, but it's very small ones, and he does have the correct read on this.
Like that.
So far.
This seems to clarify what was done. They say that nothing was removed from people's libraries. I've seen multiple people say that they saw their stuff disappear from their libraries.
That's also correct.
Maybe it's country by country, or maybe I was just given wrong information on that. Visa is doing this because of pressure from an Australian Christian activist group called Collective Shout. It's an Australian group. It's from there. Why not just use alternate payment methods for not safe for work games? I don't think you understand. If it's hosted on itch.io, the argument from Visa and MasterCard is that they won't work with itch.io if the site hosts the...
You're taking psychic damage from agreeing with Vouch. Believe me, I'm taking psychic damage.
It's not that you can go on and use like a different method, like a non-credit card, like you use direct billing to a checking account or something like that.
Yeah, he's right.
It's that they won't host it. It's by an anti-abortion feminist, I kid you not. Okay, so Swerf then. Gotcha. I know the type. Same anti-porn group that campaigned against Steam. Our ability to process payments is critical. Yep. So it's just a group of Australian pseudo-feminists who are emailing Visa and MasterCard over and over. I think MasterCard had planned this for a while. Maybe. Yeah, they might just be using a convenient excuse.
This is actually why I wrote the second article, because a lot of people are only talking about Collective Shout. It was extremely painfully obvious to me that, Enco's been writing about Steam for years, and Enco's tried to get Steam to originally do all of this in 2018. Like, this is the culmination of a plan that existed 7 years ago. Like, NCOS originally was trying to get all these visual novels pulled from Steam, like Honey Pop, right? Like, you know, like food a game called Mutiny that had like an 18 plus patch, if I recall correctly. They had like an all ages release or something like that on Steam. And NCOS was like behind that. NCOS was the one that was like, we're responsible, guys. We're cleaning up Steam. And so I do think it's important to stress, you know, I wrote that second article. It was the more viral because it was the more, I think, sort of shedding light on the topic in ways other people were missing. Reading that open letter revealed to me at the bottom, you know, Exodus Cry is there, and so is NCOS. Very obvious, you know, two American, you know, anti-porn organizations that have really punched above their weight in the past. NCOS, absolutely, and has been around for like, you know, 60 fucking years now, like literally since like 62. And started as like a conservative, like Christian group, basically, or a conservative faith group. But Exodus Cry of Trafficking Hub, you know, Exodus Cry is the reason that Pornhub lost some of its fangs. You know, it's they succeeded in like reaching the New York Times with that campaign. And if I see an organization that, you know, successfully like basically lobbied the New York Times to get its dumb shit like reported on, like, of course I'm gonna sit here and say, well, it's probably that these rinky-dink fucking Australians, no offense to Australians, probably got help from on high, you know? So I think it's a little bit something that's missed here. And for Vaush as an American leftist, I think is something that he should have stressed, that this is, you know, it's all connected. I feel like, was it like Charlie from like It's Sunny in Philadelphia, like It's Always Sunny. It's just like it's you know, all the red yarn connected. It's like there's NCOS and there's Exodus Cry and there's Heritage Foundation. Wow, you know, they're like all connected with each other, you know. So
Collective Shout in his Australian pressure group claiming to be against the objectification of women and sexualization of girls. For
I think some people have the purchased entries but cannot download them anymore. Yeah.
Anyone against,
or it's like you can't download them on the website but on the app, stuff like that. It's very tricky right now.
Of culture. Its previous video game activities have included calling for a ban on GTA 5 and promoting a 2018 petition to pull Quantic Dream's Detroit Become Human, arguing it depicted child abuse and violence against those were bad. It's bad when those happen. Ban Tyler, the creator, from touring the country in 2015. I will note,
I think it's funny that this has become common, like, in media where people kind of aggregate each other using the same arguments that other people have found. And, like, this was originally something that, like, internet sleuths found, right? And then I reported on it and dug into a little bit, like the Detroit Become Human thing and the GTA thing, and I reported on it further. Like, I gave it further additional context to make it original. But, like, everyone's kind of just taking the same points I originally reported on, but not crediting that, like, I put the two and two together. Like, I kind of never liked this about internet journalism, which is why, like, if you read some of my older work, like, I've painstakingly tried to repeatedly, like, if someone's like put information together in that kind of two and two way, I try to credit them, even if it feels like I'm over crediting people, because, you know, like, this is cribbing like my notes. Like, no offense to Eurogamer, like, this is industry standard. It's nothing wrong with the writer Eurogamer, but it's like, come on, who put the two games together in the same article first?
Know what that's about. Okay,
you know.
The Detroit creator has a history of
you have too much credit for my
like
shit
in the heavy
post.
rain creep scene. David Cage.
Think about the Always Sunny in
but
Philadelphia
like,
conspiracy.
You don't have to cede ground or do like a, well, you have to hand it to them, to this totalitarian conservative nonsense, okay? You don't have, like, there's something problematic about this media, therefore I support, like, the hammer of God coming down from the 3 payment processing companies that control the planet.
This is correct. This is correct.
Categorically ban anything and everything about, like, you don't have to give them anything. Another source, they defended cuties. This quote-unquote activist group. Fascinating. Why ban objectifying women in games when we don't even ban it?
I do think it's funny because Cuties was so controversial, and for a lot of people was like an easy target. Like, I do think it's funny that, like, Detroit Become Human's fine, but Cuties, I mean, Detroit Become Human is not fine, but Cuties is the one they don't have problem with. Like, you know, it's no comment on Cutie stuff, but, like, it's just very funny to me.
I mean, it's
like one of these is absolutely was like caused a bit of a moral panic, and it wasn't Detroit Become Human.
Like a
when Anna's reacting to Hassan, reacting to Moist, reacting to Anna, or like, hey, this is about you. Don't. This has nothing to do with Moist or Hassan or whatever. This is
a successful, which is terrifying.
Doesn't matter that all of us have been hit in the head with apples. We still attribute Freddie and Nutsi of inventing gravity.
But like an implementation of the
credit works. Yes, so true.
Person with so little media.
Hey, I've done it too, so I don't have
tell-
much place to be like, how dare you, you know? So that's why I'm not sitting here being like, well, fuck you, Eurogamer, fuck you, Eurogamer Raider, because like it's like we all do it, you know. So it's just one of the parts of digital media that's not so great.
The difference between media depicting a thing and condoning
not their fault.
A thing.
I'm not throwing shade.
And by the way, even if media condones a bad thing, I don't necessarily think that should be an argument for censorship. It's kind of a case-by-case thing. At the very least, I would like that TOS to be managed by the website itself so you can deal with the website rather than the immortal almighty payment processor.
Who's gonna put Vouch in my
the hell is this? Collective shout. Okay. You deserve rape. We won't be silenced by gamers' threats and abuse. Yeah, I can kind of get the feel for what sort of website this is. I don't know, this feels very psyopy to me. Well, maybe Visa and MasterCard are doing it of their own volition. They're just using this as an excuse. I don't know. Yes, their logo is a butthole. That is true. I don't know. Pretty goddamn spooky, though. This GOP bill seems to stop credit cards and banks from doing this. So you're suggesting then that they're doing this, they're using this as an excuse, but in reality, they're trying to preemptively align themselves with or conform to the expectations of this bill? Yeah, I remember this one. This bill places restrictions on certain banks, credit unions, and payment card networks if they refuse to do business with a person who complies with the law. Restrictions, electronic fund system, da-da-da. Banks and other specified financial institutions are allowed to deny financial service to a person only if the denial is justified by a documented failure of that person to meet quantitative, impartial, risk-based standards established by advance. Maybe. This, if anything, this seems like it's doing the opposite. This is giving people legal protection against that kind of behavior from payment processors. Potentially. I don't know. This stuff is complicated.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of takes about this bill, and I haven't gone out of my way to like advocate for this bill yet because it's a GOP bill. But also, there's a lot of speculation that the goal of the bill might be more like around like more seedier purchases that have nothing to do with free speech issues. So I'm not really throwing my weight around this one yet until like kind of waiting for like say like the ACLU to start putting their hat in the ring, people that are more legal and political experts. I don't want to say like a bill like this is based in epic if it actually will not really help on this issue. Now, if a congressperson specifically says they're drafting a bill about this issue, that's different, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I think that's what they said. Ah, well, I have to read.
Now I'm afraid of the potential thumbnail.
Chat pretty quickly. Bad excuse. Shut the f up, Richard Fallon.
The collective shout butthole is crazy to me.
So you're responsible for like a third of the content in VGG anyway. You're the reason why the feed keeps moving the way it does. Why there are only like 2 major credit card companies in the world. Well, payment processors and monopolization. I mean, the problem again is that like it would not be made better if there were 50, because then it, like you pull out your credit card, you know, it'd be like having American Express except everywhere. Nobody accepts you, you know. This is something where there should be literally like one option and it's state run. There's no reason for this to be private. America does suck, Masaigo. State run, international. Well, in practice, that's how most stuff like this works anyway, right? Like Visa and MasterCard are effectively American companies. Wait, I use Amex all the time. Okay, all right, okay, yes, you're all very woke. Do you think they'll ever come after OnlyFans? China recently banned it. I mean, I think that...
China did ban it recently.
For one, China's ban is superficial, and for two, they've already come after OnlyFans. Like, people who do sex work online have already had trouble with payment processors. They've already had trouble with continuing to receive income. But there's never going to be a big categorical, like across-the-board definitive ban, because people like OnlyFans. People like pornography. People like the existence of sex workers. They just want them to be stigmatized, right? You know, the goal of the sexual conservative is not to eliminate sexual exploitation. In fact, they often...
They might be making open hate speech profitable outside of having a sugar daddy in the bill. I think that's very possible.
Like it. What they want to do is relegate it to the shadows, so they don't have to, A, think about it, and B, when it's engaged with, or any kind of sex work, you know, it's treated as like a dirty secret rather than a legitimate part of society. That way they don't have to treat sex workers like real people. So at this point, we're not even talking about sex work. We're talking about making a video game that has titties in it, which, like, Christ.
Titties.
Do you think restricting or regulating OnlyFans would be a good thing? Restricting or regulating in what way? What are we looking to achieve?
Oh, I want to bring
Ban
this up
children from
earlier.
using it? I think that's already regulated. I think that regulation already exists.
Okay.
I would be surprised if it didn't. Why do you have so many Swedish fans? Scandinavian people are very online.
Okay. I want to show this to you really quickly before we watch another, until I react to another video. This, guys, is by Sophie Ladder, sex working goat, has worked on this resource list for a very long time. This is all the things that are banned across all sorts of porn websites. So I didn't do a lot of sharing the change.org petition because it kind of pitted OnlyFans against Steam and Itch.io. Kind of acted like OnlyFans had all this like sussy content on it, which I didn't think was fully accurate. I would have to dig into the specifics of like what content did actually hit OnlyFans that was like not caught. That was by sussy I mean like, you know, like illegal content. But my understanding is that a lot of the content that hits porn sites that is like illegal content is usually far outnumbered by illegal content. And by illegal content, you know, I'm talking about CSAM here. A lot of CSAM content hits like Facebook and Twitter and Discord in extremely high numbers compared to adult websites. Like adult websites are actually very highly regulated compared to non-adult websites because of the stigma and because of the fact that adult content is considered high risk. But I want to specifically go over here to OnlyFans on this resource that Sophie Ladder created because I want to show you guys. There is so much fucking content that you cannot post on OnlyFans because of payment processors, guys. Content with blood, menstrual blood, lactation, vomit, scat, peeing on others, piss drinking, asphyxiation, forelimbs bound of penetration, fisting, weapons, incest roleplay may be allowed with disclaimer that the parties are not actually related, consuming drugs, alcohol, age play content. There we go. Age play content, diapers, kidnapping roleplay, hypnosis for large animal dildos. The rule is, let's see, is no animal toys if you are penetrated. And for fisting, while OF claims fisting is allowed if not painful or extreme, the enforcement says otherwise. Gentle fisting and 4 fingers fingering gets removed too. So I also think it's important for people to understand here that like when it comes to OnlyFans, like the amount of stuff you cannot use on OnlyFans is really high. It's really high. There's a large number of things you cannot put on OnlyFans. This is sort of like the aftermath of a payment processor obliterating a website. And why is this the case? Is because I actually didn't know this, that Fap House is more popular than OnlyFans. I don't even know what a Fap House is. OnlyFans got fucking obliterated because it's the most popular fan site in the world, like kind of de facto. In terms of word bans, it's fucking nuts, dude. It's insane. There's so many words you can't use. Like words like, you know, like abduct or like blackmail, blood, bukkake, chloroform, choke, drunk. So many websites you can't use drunk. Forced, forcing, hypnosis, incest, lactation, lactating, meat, menstruate. Meat is because, you know, like if you like meat and fuck, like meet a fan. That's why. Molest. Let's see what else. Poop, rape, scat, showers, shit, sleep, slumber, smother, snuff, strangle, stoned, suffocate. Let's see. Tentacle, therapist. Therapist is banned. You can't use therapist. Guys, this issue has decimated so much adult content for years. Like this is the next iteration of something that has been truly plaguing the adult content space for so fucking long. No therapy porn. Can you link that? Yes, of course. Not my horror songs. They said no therapy chat. I check this thing all the time because Sophie Ladder does keep it updated, and she is the fucking GOAT. This is such a good resource. I use it for my own work to confirm what can and can't be posted where. This is just to remind you guys that this is what's coming. This is what's common. This is what they're going to come for. They're going to start saying things like, you know, you can't post this specific NSFW content. You know, why do you think they were so upset about, like, you know, like incest content, right? Well, it's because they fucking ban it everywhere across like many vids and OnlyFans. All right, let's look at Hassan. Let's see what my boy Hassan, happy birthday. Because he mentioned me. So we're going to definitely watch him. See what he has to say. Let's see. Trump is destroying institutions. I don't think it's going on his main channel, but I think like people caught it. Okay. Let's see. Censorship is out of control. Hassan reacts to Moist critical. Let's watch the 52 edit.
If left unguarded, this
We won't watch all of it.
is setting a terrifying precedent, right? If left unguarded and unrestricted, it goes all the way up to Grand Theft Auto. Apparently, Visa/MasterCard were lobbied by an Australian Christian group. That is the least surprising thing I've ever heard. Almost all of these things, initiatives, like anti-initiatives, fun fact, are like 90% of anti-initiatives in this country started off by Mormon advocacy groups that actually hide that they're Mormon advocacy groups by using like scientific happiness.
We're going to watch a good chunk of it before we skip to him talking about me. I can't ask you about my Oedipus complex to you. Sorry. No tentacle therapist. No monster therapist.
Foundation or whatever. Or the Secular Science Foundation. But it's usually just still Mormons. A lot of the
You guys are going to find out I'm a Hassan clone.
laws come from the Christian right movement. And the same goes for stuff like this as well. They've been pressured by right-wing Puritan evangelists, which are already gearing up to also include games with any LGBT teams. Yeah. Which is ironic because a lot of these guys who are like, oh, don't take away my weird games, right, are also the same guys that are right-wing themselves. And they are the same guys who constantly complain about like gay in video games. And it's weird because like on the one hand, the entry point for a lot of these like puritanical right-wing Christian groups is going to be banning like the weird games that they like, while simultaneously the ultimate goal that they have is to ban, you know, LGBT in any video game, ultimately, to say, oh, well, you know, we have to, this is also gross. This is also moral decay. So then what? Do they turn around and go, no, actually, this is just like they're destroying, what is it, Sweet Baby Inc.?
No.
So they're based now. So the puritanical right-wing Christian nationalist advocacy groups are now good because they don't like homosexuals in video games. In most circumstances, the I'll know it when I see it method, which is unironically something that the Supreme Court has put in their decision when talking about obscenity laws and restricting First Amendment artistic expression. It's kind of the best policy to go along with the I'll know it when I see it policy. Because like ultimately curbing artistic expression is not good. It's not a good thing at all, especially considering that many, virtually every single new wave of art has always come with a lot of resistance. People have immediately said, this is degenerate. This is morally perverse. You shouldn't do this every single time. And then we take it for granted years later down the line. If you know anything about art history, you will realize that every single new meta in art has come along and people have literally said the exact same shit where it's like, whoa, 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 you can't do this. This is
that's a good example.
This is completely unacceptable. This is moral decay. And then we just take it for granted. So
I want to stress before we even continue, I know a lot of folks are going to have mixed and different feelings about Hassan. I love him. He is a major inspiration for me. But I want to stress the fact that first Moist Critical talked about this and then Hassan means we're kind of hitting nuclear point. Like, this is a really fucking big deal that this is hitting Hassan. It really means that people that are never would have paid attention to this issue are going to start thinking a lot about this issue.
You know, it's not great. Yeah, here it is. Australian anti-porn group claims responsibility for Steam's new censorship rules and victory against porn-sick, brain-rotted gamer fetishists, and things only get weirder from there. Collective Shout, an Australian anti-pornography group, has claimed credit for Steam's recent removal of a large number of sexually explicit games and new stricter moderation guidelines regarding such material. In a statement to PC Gamer, Valve cited pressure from payment processors like credit card companies and PayPal for the move, while Collective Shout touted its open letter and consumer campaign targeted payment processors for inciting that pressure. This was first reported by Waypoint, which has since pulled its 2 articles on the subject without explanation. The article's author, Anna Valens, has alleged that Vice's parent company, Savage Ventures, removed the articles due to concerns over their controversial content rather than any error in the reporting.
Hassan mispronounced my last name. It's over. I'm an Ethan fan now. It's over. I'm changing sides. No, I'm just kidding. Anna Valens. I gotta change my last name now. I do appreciate though, Ethan. Not Ethan. No, I don't appreciate Ethan. I do appreciate Hassan reading this.
Collective Shout began.
He also goes over Moist going over the article.
And in 2009, co-founded by Self.
He does it to everyone. Yeah, no. Hey, small cute frog. I saw you did a video on this stuff, by the way. Appreciate it. Anna Valens. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. I don't care. You can mispronounce my last name. I don't care. He mispronounces your last name because he wants you to take.
Described pro-life feminist Melinda Tankard Reyes. Collective Shout describes itself as a grassroots campaigning movement against the objectification of women and sexualization of girls in media, advertising, and popular culture. Today, it has been involved in unsuccessful efforts to ban Snoop Dogg and Eminem from Australia. A successful 2015 campaign to prevent Tyler, the Creator, from touring Australia.
I know why, brother.
A successful 2015 campaign to pressure Target and Kmart. Why'd you download the accent? I'm sorry.
Why'd you download the accent? Is this racist? You can't be racist to Australian people unless they're indigenous. Then you can be. This is why we share this on Discord. He went silly.
Right. To stop selling Grand Theft Auto 5 in Australia.
No!
A petition to ban the game No Mercy from sale, which ultimately led to the developers pulling it from Steam. An unsuccessful petition to ban Detroit Become Human from sale in Australia. So here's the thing. Okay? Have you noticed?
Smiling friend creator. He does! He sounds like that guy. Whatever the fuck his name is. Not Zach, the other one.
Have you noticed something here? That's ridiculous.
Hello, Charlie. Have you heard about the censorship they do in Australia?
Ridiculous ass demands. They're just trying to
is Vox
hit whatever they can. Do you understand?
Is this real?
What do you mean? Detroit Become Human. What the? Because it's cringe? Is that what it is? You don't like that it's cringe? Detroit Become
for those
Human
of you that will watch, lady.
Like, not so subtle allegory about racism.
Yeah.
That's it. That's messianic imagery. Oh, that's why. Nice. On July 7th, Collective Shout shared an update on his No Mercy NoMercyChange.org campaign, calling on supports to email payment processors, including PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, and Discover, to demand that.
Do you think it sounds even better if we Do you think it sounds even better if we play him just a little faster? Do you think it sounds even better, just a little faster?
Steam and itch.io over hundreds of incest and abuse games. This was followed by an open letter from Collective Shout asking that they immediately cease processing payments on Steam and itch.io and any other platforms hosting similar games. So, like, there's some validity, but the reason why they're doing this is not a decent reason.
Okay, wait.
And of course, when they get any kind of W, they just expand on it and they go crazy over it. There's Moist's video on this.
I sped too quickly. We missed his take.
The reason why they're doing this is not a decent reason. Okay,
it is a pretty good Australian.
And of course, when they get any kind of W, they just expand on it and they go crazy over it.
Yeah, very true, very true. These guys are they just press W and they keep going.
This video on this.
Huge censorship going on in gaming right now. I'm sure a lot of you saw Steam a few days.
Who said to skip ahead a little bit? I know he's talking about like my article, like critical, and I think Hassan might too. Oh, whoops, sorry. I don't want to just make this about like jerking me off though. Like, I want to see what Hassan has to say in general.
While simultaneously combating anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Do you understand? When companies that are supposed to be tasked with like this kind of sanitation do not actually take the necessary steps to be as careful as they possibly can be, and as a matter of fact, weaponize allegations of anti-Semitism, all of a sudden, you basically have diluted you've diluted the issue. It no longer has the same level of power. At first, it will be powerful. At first, companies will get scared, and then eventually it'll go back to complete free speech regardless, like maximalist free speech positions regardless, because you've already lost the plot. You've done it too much. Later in the video, Charlie thinks there's a feminist group because they wrap their messaging around protecting women. Yeah. It is pretty nefarious. It is pretty nefarious that these guys will also say like, oh, we're doing this to protect women, when in fact it's like a very clearly a right-wing a right-wing Christian advocacy group. It's not. It's like TERFs and SWERFs that say that they're feminists, and that's why they're anti-sex work from a feminist position, or they're anti-trans from a feminist position. It's just fucking bullshit. It's an obfuscation that some people find themselves swept away by.
Now, I'm not like a big like Hassan, like I'm not the type to be like, when I disagree with Hassan, I really go out of my way to like court people that don't like Hassan. But this is one point I do agree with both a lot of the criticism that people have made when I called them a feminist group, and I do disagree with him here. I'm going to explain why. I think that while it's true that Collective Shout and a lot of these other like feminist seeming groups are SWERF and TERFs, and they shouldn't really be considered part of the mainstream of feminism, and to argue that they are essentially feminist groups as if they were like Anita Sarkeesian is wrong, and can kind of get people to think that feminists are the problem instead of what is ultimately like a right-wing conservatism operating in a way where that's anti-sex work. And, you know, Collective Shout hasn't shown that it's anti-trans, but it, you know, retweeted an anti-trans feminist. It's very, very TERF friendly. Friendly of TERFs, I should say. They don't mind hanging out and palling around with them. I do disagree with him a little bit here. And the reason why is I think it's important to quantify the reactionary element that exists in feminism as well. And the reactionary element that exists in feminism is what we call radfem now, right? Like radical feminism used to mean something different, but the radical feminist sort of world was really co-opted by these types, these anti-sex worker types, sort of like the radical feminist wars. You know, I feel sort of like there's this feminist wars and there's the radfem wars, and in order to have the feminist wars, the radfem wars had to be lost to, you know, the SWERF and TERFs, right? And then we had like the larger feminist wars of like the 80s. And so I do disagree with Hassan a little bit, because even though like a lot of these groups are like Christian groups that are running around with feminist rhetoric when they're not really feminist, some of them aren't Christian groups. Some of them are just like kind of dyed in the wool, like reactionary, like feministy types. And I think I do think that distinction matters, because while SWERFs and TERFs have started to be cleaved off from the rest of feminism, just 10 years ago, that was not the case at all. Just a couple of years ago, you know, if you were a trans woman and a sex worker, there's a very high chance that all of the feminist institutions you would want to work with in academia were captured by these types, and you were not welcome to be there. So I do disagree with him a little bit. I think that it's true that this type is like a fringe reactionary right-wing type. But when I see this type and they're couching themselves in feminist rhetoric, and they do seem to be run by, you know, right-wingers who are self-described as feminists, I do want to call it radfems, because, and I do want to say it's feminist, because I do think it's actually a part of the feminist sphere that hasn't been fully excised yet. I feel like this is how we get the capture of institutions where, you know, feminists that seem a little trans friendly are palling around with truly anti-trans feminists and carrying water for them. If you don't call out the fact that there is still that connection with these feminist groups, and that there is still a very short degree of separation between, you know, mainstream feminism and some of these types still, it does lead to a recapture of those institutions. So I disagree with Hassan a little bit here. I agree with him that some of the types that are really insisting like, oh, this is feminism gone crazy, like that is wrong. That's not the correct read. But there is a kernel of truth in the sense that right-wing reactionary radfem feminism, this is something we're facing and up against, which is why you will see people in Blue Sky that are like sitting there and saying like, oh my God, like, you know, actually it's so base that they censored things. Or people on Tumblr saying, oh my God, it's so base that they censored things. Like, because there still is that radfem presence, that reactionary right-wing radfem aspect that ultimately is still tunneling around in feminist communities. But battled with these types for a decade, and they used to be much more prominent, and so I do disagree with Hassan here, and I disagree with people that are insisting that you can't call these people feminists, because no, there is still this rot in feminism. It's just been excised a little bit and a little bit more contained and called out for what it is. So there's always reactionaries, yeah. We have separate streams for that. Oh, okay, yeah, you got you. Hi, Sylvie Spark, by the way. It's good to have you.
This is the lady, Australian political activist, writer, speaker, and media commentator. She describes herself as an advocate for women and girls and is a pro-life feminist. Her campaigns to ban X-rated films have gained national attention in Australia. Tancred Rice is a founder of Collective Shout, a non-profit organization best known for leading a successful campaign to block the artist Tyler the Creator from touring in Australia due to lyrics considered misogynistic, as well as the removal of multiple Steam games alleged to have depicted incest abuse, which journalistic investigations found also include non-pornographic games containing LGBT themes. There it is. There's a weird handshake that takes place here with like right-wing gamers who want to play like the games and get mad and say this is a First Amendment violation, but then also hate gay themes in the games, which Melissa Tancred Rice also hates. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say that Melissa Tancred is using the understandable position of trying to get these like, you know, incestuous games banned to get a foothold, to create a precedent, to show that she is capable of doing that, so she can literally ban the gay games.
Yeah, I think it's likely. I think that's very possible. I think this is also important to remember that there's a larger history in feminism as well that is anti-LGBTQ, that the idea of a lesbian-friendly feminism is actually still a recent invention of the past 40-50 years. So again, I do in some ways disagree with Hassan a little bit on this, but I also agree a lot with him on this. I think it's very clear that what Collective Shout is trying to do is use porn to get the foot in the door to then ban, you know, anything they disagree with.
That specific game is already banned on itch.io. The pressure still forced them to delist every single...
I think another issue I have is how loosely this is being applied. Recently, the UK government has been flagging Palestinian accounts showcasing the crimes the IDF are committing. That's really fascinating. I hope Hassan talks about that. Because the UK thing, I mean, I knew it was going to be a clusterfuck the moment it dropped, but it just hit at literally the clusteriest of fucks it possibly could. Like, it dropped at the exact moment where everyone's already upset about this. And then, by the way, if you're in the UK, like, you're totally fucked as well. And then it doesn't even target just porn. Like, it targets, as you said, like, activism work. It's awful. It's a fucking clusterfuck.
NSFW thing on their
total
website.
Clusterfuck.
Doesn't only affect things that one person thinks are objectionable. Tancred Rice was born in Mildura, Victoria. She completed his secondary education in Mildura High School and then studied journalism at the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. She took up cadetship at the Sunraysia Daily, where she worked from 1983
normal
to 1987.
Island, setting the precedent
as a recipient of the Rotary Foundation
for normal behaviour.
She
Which one's normal island? Is it the UK or Australia? They're both being normal.
furthered his studies in journalism at the California State University, Long Beach during 1987 and 1988. The loony left, the loony left. He's at it again.
Yeah, it's a massive issue.
Anyway, event Inspiring Christian Series. In 2009, Tancred Rice spoke at a forum called Event Inspiring Christian Series in the Belconnen Baptist Church on behalf of Sheridan Voisey. Yeah, Tancred Rice was on the founding committee of Carinia House for Mothers and Babies, and supported accommodation and outreach service for women facing pregnancy without support, and Erin House transition housing for women post-birth. She worked as a consultant for NGOs with a focus on global poverty, including World Vision Australia.
That's a good find.
Tancred Rice is a contributing editor for 5 books published by Duffy and Snellgrove. Works co-authored in response to criticism and racist views are pro-life and thus she can't be a feminist. She self-described radical feminist publishers at SpinFX Press. Defended Rice feminism as authentic. SpinFX Press held anti-trans
events.
There
you go.
Of course they did. Women's Forum Australia is a conservative think tank established in 2005 with the aim of influencing research and policy related by
as the
willing TV show is, right? Boomers don't fully comprehend what a video game is, and that's the reason why they think like if you ask a boomer if they see depictions of violence in a movie and whether that contributes to fucking school shootings, they'll say, of course not. What do you mean? I grew up watching violent TV shows. I didn't.
Let's skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, real.
Even take down some articles that are a little...
Wait, okay.
Yeah, you can see anything. dating games, Grand Theft Auto, etc., then who knows? Animal abuse, no more Pokemon, I guess. Yeah, you
No
can
more
see
Pokemon?
anything.
And
No more
another
Pokemon?
scary fact, the article I was reading on stream, which I'm going to show you clips from so you can see about their previous
Very flattered that Charlie read it on stream, by the way. It means a lot.
attempts to go after things like Detroit Become Human and GTA 5. That article that I was reading then got taken down 8 hours after stream because Vice deemed it was a little too controversial because the article wasn't super favorable to Collective Shout. So Collective Shout not only has pull in censoring games, but it looks like they can even take down some articles that are a little, harsh on how they're going about their mission or what they're trying to do here.
I do want to stress, because I think I saw Wikipedia talk about this. I have no official notice or reason to believe, I have no fact that Collective Shout contacted Vice. It's very possible that this is two intersecting things where it's all the buildup from the Fudanari column and the Kirsha articles and all those things intersected with this issue in a way that none of us thought it would, just the clusterfuck of randomness that happens sometimes. But it's also possible that Savage Ventures was contacted, or Vice was. I was trying to reach out to Collective Shout for comment. And I reached out to I reached out to them multiple times. Then Exodus Cry and Kosei did as well. So it's in the realm of possibility. It's never been communicated that they did, but I don't. Let me put it this way: I don't have reason to believe they did, but I can't rule out the possibility either. This is why I haven't sat there and denied the claim from others. I haven't sat there and said, no, we weren't contacted, because I don't know. To the best of my knowledge, we weren't, but I'm not privy to what to everything that happened behind the scenes of Vice or Savage Ventures. I don't know. It's very possible. Very, very, very possible. I don't know. Yeah, it's just speculation. I think people read a little bit too much into what Charlie is saying here, and the game of telephone happened and what resulted. Charlie is saying ultimately that it looks like it's suspicious, but I think people kind of read into it as saying this is the confirmation, because it's easy to admit a word. This happens all the time with journalism, where we very carefully choose the specific words we use. On Blue Sky, I said more Steam games removed, right? I didn't say Collective Shout censored more Steam games. I didn't say more censorship happening. I said more Steam games were removed because, well, the article proved that more Steam games were being removed. We don't know specifics, but it seems very 100%. It seems 99% likely this is the continuation of what's been going on. But post on Blue Sky, I don't know, it's not Collective Shout is announced we did it. These specific games were the one removed, unless Collective Shout brags about it again. So, Anna DMing work in progress for this thumbnail. Tell me if it's okay. Hit me up. I'll take a look.
In other words, it seems virtually impossible for Steam to host any adult games depicting child abuse. Rather, Collective Shout may be targeting popular video games that depict children in scenarios where they face
This is interesting because this already is applied ahead of time. In Cyberpunk, for example, there are kids, but you can't do anything to the kids. You can't kill the kids. In most games, if there are any depictions of children whatsoever, you literally can't, as a character, no matter how much freedom you have, you can't do anything. You can't harm them in any way. It's understandable. This is the reason why. This is part of the reason why they have these sorts of provisions.
Stress or harm, even if these depictions are intended to encourage concern and care in the player. From there, the organization may be describing these titles as featuring child. In 2018, Collective Shout encouraged its supporters.
I think it's so. It shouldn't be missed here, by the way, that how much words have to be censored on YouTube to talk about this issue. The censorious nature of this. There's censorship happening to talk about a censored article discussing censorship. We are in the censored minds here. What the fuck happened to the internet? Bro, I grew up in an era where you could write anything on the internet. Now I have to talk about unaliving myself in Walmart in Minecraft. What the it's crazy. I'm reacting to a react video of a react to my own article, okay? where all this shit has to be censored. What the fuck? It's nuts. What's going on? It's crazy. I'm gonna crash out. It's crazy though. This is how much power advertisers and payment processors have. Because people are gonna get demonetized. This is why we have to do this. This is why you have to like bleep out like abuse or whatever. It's crazy. Like what the fuck? Like how'd the internet get like this? This is nuts. This is insane. This is not normal. This is like fucking bonkers. Monopolies and want to maintain revenue. All good, Exo Drifter. Thanks for hanging. Yeah, I keep thinking something happens in the stream and then go, oh no, they had to do that with YouTube. I know what happened. Corpos happened. It's dumb. Google ruined it. Literally just like the era that we all grew up in. Okay, like I just remember this era where like you could post whatever the fuck you want on the internet. Any art, say anything, whatever, good, bad, or in between, radical or not. And now we just live in this era where it's like YouTube is like this big fucking crybaby that's gonna get upset if you talk about serious things. Like it's just crazy. Like you can't use the word like suicide or you're gonna lose money. It's like, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a real life issue that people face. Like I'm sorry, but it is. Like, do you want to be like baby's platform that kowtows to every little corporation you said, or do you want to have serious conversations on your fucking platform? It's crazy. And it's no creator's fault. It's YouTube's fault. It's YouTube's fault. It's YouTube's fault. Like, it's fucking YouTube's fault.
To sign a petition to ban Detroit because
YouTube's the one that chose to do this shit, okay? YouTube's the one that chose that they want to go down this path. It's fucking bullshit.
For sale in Australia, claiming the game features child abuse and violence against women.
Material conditions worse than the words used to describe become babyfied, yeah.
The petition focused on an abusive father.
Not to mention this law is actually pushing kids towards the dark web. I think a lot of people forget that, like, as censorship continues, like, people are going to look for what they want to get. Like, people are just going to go to more dangerous places to get it.
There's violent behavior towards his housekeeper and daughter in the game. This dynamic, core to the character Kara's story arc, is intended to encourage empathy for the abused woman and child. While it's unclear whether Collective Shout is actively targeting Detroit Become Human in 2025, the removal of such a game would be akin to artistic censorship of material discussing misogynistic abuse against female family members. Targeting the game, in other words, could be considered anti-feminist in intent. That doesn't really make any sense. In 2014,
The Last of Us has to be banned because you can play as a child, and the main character is a child, and also there are zombies that are trying to eat the child. I think a good analog here would be to compare it to like any depictions of children in movies and in TV shows. Which would eliminate virtually all movies and TV shows that have kids in them. It's just like ridiculous.
Hassan's correct here. Like, I consider it kind of like equivalent to like comic books and stuff, right? Like, it's just like, it's the presence of children in a serious situation that's the problem that Collective Shout had.
Sounds stupid when
crazy.
you think about it.
Organization called on Target to remove Grand Theft Auto 5 from store shelves, sharing a petition that claims the game encourages players to commit sexual violence and kill women. Collective Shout described GTA as if it were a misogynistic funhouse, stating the game lets players enact their fantasies of committing extreme violence against women, including punching women to the point of unconsciousness, killing them with a bat, gun, or machete, running them.
Yeah, but you can do that to everyone in that game. Do you see what I mean? It's just like, that's insane. Yeah, that's the point, man. You can do that to like every single person in the game. Yeah, it promotes.
Okay, not to Hassan Glaze, but I think it's so funny that like everything that like I was thinking or about to say is like stuff he was about to say. Like literally the next paragraph is like me talking about exactly what Hassan is saying here. It's so funny. It's like, oh my god, I'm fucking Hassan.
Egalitarian murder, just unlimited super violence to everyone.
Down with a car and setting them on fire as they continue screaming.
Thanks for the follow, Pearls of Pearls.
What?
Pearls of Salamanca.
What? So that all this is only reserved.
Insert link to site that found violent video games actually found gamers grew less likely to commit violence because they grew remorse. Yeah, absolutely.
Acceptable.
Absolutely.
If it's men. Like if you're killing.
Turns out when art makes you empathize with things, you're less likely to do awful things in real life. Who would have thought? Maybe that's why art's important. You know, it like makes you connect to your fellow man. You know?
With a bat, gun, and...
Oh, pear, not pearls. That's a common mistake. All good. Pear of Salamanca. I love your name.
Machete, running them down with the car and setting them on fire as they scream. These arguments are so weak and flimsy, and I think just downright detrimental to what they claim their mission is. This would basically, like these two things in conjunction, would make it so like most games won't even put women in there. So let's take the first example about like how children in like distress and harm.
The thing is, Charlie, I don't think these people care about that.
Yeah.
They want all of those games to be banned. They want all games to be banned.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They're not like thinking about, you know, what kind of impact this might have in video game
Been
development.
at least 3 videos so
That's
far.
not the purpose here.
It's crazy.
They don't play video games. They don't care about it. They think
crazy.
it's bad. They think it's demonic. They want all games to be banned regardless. So
Yeah.
that's it.
This
Unless
is my
it's a
read on
game
them too. This is my read on them too. Like it's fundamentally like an anti-video games thing, but it's also like about censoring art that's seen as avant-garde and when queer and all this stuff.
Depicts incest and sex
Anna Hassan hat trick Valens, we call it.
and all that. But of course, that is a game that depicts the Bible. That's the only game that's appropriate.
Is something that they would target and try and take down. It's why they went after Detroit Become Human. Let's extend that scope. Things like Limbo, Last of Us.
Yeah, I read the Kirsha article.
Out of Sight.
Kirsha
Like
articles.
these games where there are kids present and they do go through like hardship.
No,
that
Bible
would be
Black is
removed
okay.
under their
Futanari,
guidelines here.
not banned.
In Detroit Become Human, it's not like they're trying to glorify this type of horrible thing. It is used as a way of showcasing how bad a situation is
Yes.
and getting empathy from the player for
Yes.
what is happening to these characters.
Yeah.
And yet they want to take it down, even though it is used to deliver positive messaging to the player. It's like they don't want any
Bible
deep
Black
themes
is
in their
nonfiction.
games, and not only that, it's like they don't want women to even be interactable in the games. So also something that
thumbnail's
wouldn't fly
good.
under their protocol here
By
would
the
be things
way.
like Tomb
Homer.
Raider. Any game where a female is leading it wouldn't really be possible
Guys, help. I tried to make juice and now I have a pot of boiling fruit core.
because
It's been known to happen.
the women in the
It's been
game
known to
are
happen.
going to go through distress. Like Lara Croft goes through a lot worse than what they listed for GTA 5 being a misogynistic funhouse. Lara Croft gets killed in so many different ways potentially if you fail certain things. She's constantly being hunted, hurt. It's all like pretty much no game with a female character in it could be made if Collective Shout continues to gain this much power.
Yeah.
It's a absurd notion here.
Yeah,
God of War, the new God of War, those games couldn't be made because Kratos.
And I think that needs to be seen as not just absurd, but anti-feminist. It's misogynistic, right? Because what it says is that only men can be protagonists. Men are allowed to be in harm's way, but women cannot. Women are special, dainty, perfect things. They must be put on a pedestal. And any depiction of, women experiencing challenges in an equal level that men would experience is misogynistic and should be banned. And that is an anti-feminist stance. Like, even though this is a feminist, I believe that it's correct to still quantify this, like, kind of quasi-Christian, like, radical feminist group as, like, feminist, radical feminist. It is a misogynistic stance to have that. And I think Charlie is right to point this out. What Moist Critical is basically saying is that, this kind of argument it's a serious slippery slope to total destruction of the industry. That's what he's saying.
His son obviously goes through a lot there. That would be a child in a harmful and distressing situation. It would be poo-pooed by Collective Shout. They would banish that shit to the Shadow Realm.
Normie Jesus.
Like, their rules on what is and is not acceptable are just unhinged.
Yeah,
Again, this would fundamentally, like, scrub women from video games.
No, he's
Like,
right. He's right.
I don't know why they're not grasping that concept. They
Charlie's
call
right.
GTA 5 a misogynistic funhouse because you can hurt
Misogynistic
women
funhouse.
in it and that kind of thing, which you can also do to men.
Yes.
But the
Yeah, Collective Shout is not like a leftist group, but just because they say that they're a feminist group, it doesn't mean that they're actually a left-wing group. They are a right-wing Christian group that is anti-trans, anti-gay, and anti-abortion.
Yeah.
It's just like, this happens so frequently. I don't know. What's your opinion on Mehdi's past of calling
I have much more faith in a moral compass of Charlie's audience than I would if it was like Osmongold. Do you know what I'm saying? This message would penetrate more. I think Osmongold has kind of like, he's got like grifter energy. It's just like he says what people want to hear, and they march to the tune of what he says. Charlie has an audience of people that are more likely to think about these things, you know, and they might not agree with all of his takes, they might not agree with everything he says, but they think he is someone who's insightful and a good person and a smart guy and things like that. And I think Hassan has a similar energy in his space too. You know, there's a lot of people that watch Hassan where they will say things all the time like, I love you, but I don't agree with you on this, or I've been watching you for a long time, but I don't really know what you mean by this. Can you explain it? And you don't really get that vibe of an Osmongold space, you know, like if you're an Osmongold fan, you're a Glazer, you know, you're gluck, 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 and that's not really the case of Charlie Roston.
Believers cattle and comparing GEA.
Osmond is controlled by the dead rat in his brain. Osmongold cares more about getting his audience to clap. Yeah. And this is something that a lot of content creators that I've known have talked about. Like, he wants to be liked, which is a problem, you know. It's good to be around creators that want to do right or you know, do right by their audience, have difficult conversations with their audience, get stuff to their audience, be informative, be helpful. Someone that wants to be clapped and liked is how you get Rev Says Desu, who is vapid. You know, he provides nothing to the table. Rev will come in and say, you know, that like age ID stuff is good because someone he hates, like, or someone that it's good with his audience to hate. You know, mourns the free speech ramifications of ID laws. And then when he sees that it's actually popular to be against ID laws, he changes his mind on a dime. Like, this is not a serious person, you know. You're not getting any serious political insight from him, nor are you going to get serious political insight from Osmongold, who doesn't really know much about any of these issues until he sees what people on social media are generally saying, and then he'll just parrot what he sees.
Each people to PDS now that he's rebranded himself as a progressive over in America. Do you think I'm unfamiliar
they
with
grow
Mehdi
around
Hassan's
him.
like past? Wow, dude.
Dance of Lollipop.
I love that we're currently talking about cancel culture, and this came in to be like, hey guys, this guy who was you know, definitely reactionary in his youth, who no longer embodies or exhibits any of those tendencies, is still a bad guy. I, of course, don't like what he's saying now about Israel, so I'm so desperate to make sure that I'm desperate to make sure. I don't know what. Oh, gay people files. Gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care, man. I don't give a fuck. Okay, how can I blame this on Christians? Yeah, there you go.
Wait. This is crazy.
What do you think about gay people, Chatter? Point
I'm gonna skip the hell, but this is just so
of
crazy.
these like religious advocacy groups that in schools you can't actually show depictions of like you know, gay people or whatever in the teaching material. That was a unified front from Muslim advocacy groups and Christian advocacy groups, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Do you think I give a No, I don't. I don't give a if it's a Muslim advocacy group or a Christian advocacy group. I care about right-wing reactionary attitudes restricting people's free speech.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a
And I do agree that the leaning of, you know, what I would still call a feminist organization is fundamentally right-wing. Yeah.
A right-wing Muslim group or a right-wing Christian group. What I care about is the right-wing element here.
Issue is exclusively because
all of this so
women
my
can all
Moe Yuri anime slap does not show ladies holding hands. Yeah, real. All this so fucking, you know, Yuri Siscon can't get published on Itch.io. Remember not having ever heard of Chatterino before I saw it in a random Hassan VOD I saw once, and I was like, the hell is this? It looks practical and great. I'm literally read your chat message off Chatterino. I love Chatterino. It's so good. It's so good.
so
It's so
be
good.
hurt and killed in GTA 5 just like the men can. It's not like GTA 5 is telling the player, you have to go commit these sexual violent acts against women right now. We need you as the player to score 100 sexual violent crimes against our women in the city right now. Go out there. That's the quest. Go.
Yeah, he got duped by the whole like we're doing this for girls and women shit, and he thinks this is like a left wing cancel culture thing. But Collective Shout reeks of homeowners association meets soccer mom energy is so it's correct.
That's
law
so
on this, by
yeah.
the way.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more than an NSFW they took on all tagged adult games. Basically, no 18 plus. The library has so much less horror now. The only groups who
That's an
actively
interesting
fight for the
point.
liberation of Palestine on the ground, Hamas, PIJ, and their helpers, Ansar Allah, Hezbollah, IRGC, have the same ideology that you, from your comfy Western sofa, call reactionary right-wing law. Wait, what? dog, what are you talking about? Their own personal affairs and their own personal opinions.
We're still listening.
In terms of their
look for more news
their advocacy for
when the food of video
repression
game gave me a
of
million
certain
points for committing
social,
MPEG. Real.
libertarian principles
Real.
is not
Or
even
100,000.
remotely important when they are actively taking up arms against a violent settler colonial enterprise. Do you feel like we're having a conversation about the IRGC's perspective on depictions of violence in video games right now? Do you feel like these two things are the same? Don't you understand that there is a different hierarchy when we're talking about bombs murdering children versus people living in the comforts of Western Empire, and what kind of advocacy is being done in terms of social repression here? Are you stupid? You can't apply the same blanket attitude. The reason why I don't apply the same blanket attitude here is because those countries and the people in those countries have not had the same liberties to be able to engage in this kind of civil advocacy because they're too busy trying not to be murdered by the state of Israel or by America. Ironically enough, the groups that actively fight for the liberation of Palestine also comprised secular groups and socialist groups as well. And you know that. You are knowledgeable enough to know that as well. But ultimately, the unified goal in this circumstance is liberation. It's an emancipatory one from additional death and destruction. This is why I always use the example of Easy Company.
I think it's so insane how much the fucking crazies that Hassan gets in his chat over Israel and Palestine. I think it's fucking nuts. He gets so many crazies over it. And I think his hate watchers have increased ever since, what ultimately led to, Israel ramping up its genocide of Gaza. It's been insane. Like, it's insane to watch. As a regular Hassan watcher, I see it constantly, and I don't know how he does it because it's fucking nuts. I mean, he's the most outspoken advocate on, visibility for the genocide in Gaza that exists on Twitch. I know this is not really related to anything we've been talking about, but it kind of is in a way. The level of visibility that he constantly does every single day he streams. And I think fundamentally how important his voice has been in getting people to continue to pay attention, because he is one of the biggest streamers and he has such an enormous audience. And the level to which people have again and again and again tried to censor him over it. I hope you all are understanding, and this is the point I'm trying to make, that this is interconnected, that the censorious nature of the internet is, once you recognize it, you start to see it everywhere, guys. You start to see it everywhere. You see it with people bombarding him and chat, trying to trying to send him stupid shit. You see it with people every time someone gets banned. They say, why not Hassan though? Why hasn't he been banned? What about the totally real gun he pulled out? All of the attempts to get him off Twitch, all of the attempts to deplatform and arrest activists and advocates that are trying to highlight what Israel is doing to Gazan citizens, to Palestinians. Once you start to see it, you see it everywhere on the internet. How censorious people are. People just want to control information that doesn't agree with their narrative that a genocide is happening. And people want to control what kind of art and what kind of beliefs we share on the internet. Once you see it in one place, you realize this is where everything is going, right? The censorship-prone nature of the contemporary internet, because the feeling in the air, especially of right-wingers, is there's too much info that disagrees with us going around. So we got to clamp down on it. There's an information overload of stuff that disagrees with me. Hey, F14 Squall. It's a Kyriarchy. Look at H3 fans. Hell, even just Zionists as a whole. Yeah. It's crazy because he gets so many unhinged reactionaries and Zionists coming after him. He got so many. Anna, was this shown? The reason why, let's see. Oh, about the Global Online Safety Regulatories Network. So I haven't, not by Hassan, I haven't discussed it either yet. I'm gonna explain why. There's probably a lot of good information out there that I don't necessarily boost or discuss much because after everything with the Kirsche situation, I did definitely feel like I kind of like rushed to just boost everything I saw, and it can lead to kind of like dead ends or kind of misinformation being spread. So I have seen this around, but I'm really careful about what I boost and what I share. And especially because I'm going to be real with you guys, it's been a very tiring week as well. So the stuff that I know for sure is true, I can confirm or vouch, I'm more likely to share just because I want to make sure I'm trying to make sure I'm as reliable as possible. So I definitely have seen it. I definitely think it's something I want to look into, but I also want to make sure that there isn't too much distraction from what I think is ultimately a good solution either, which is, keeping up the calls. So definitely seen it, but I still got to look into it. So, yeah. No, makes sense. I just saw that. I wanted to know if it was discussed or not. Nah, not yet. Some people just try to deplatform because they dislike him, and they dislike him because someone told them to. Yeah, exactly. It's the grifter nature, And that's why also grifters want him deplatformed because, no one wants... If you're a grifter, the last thing you want is like someone who proves that you're a grifter by like just kind of showing that all the things you say are vapid and wrong. Remember when Phoenix did a charity week for Palestine months ago and commenting how people told him not to? Told him to not, yeah. Because people react to the coverage on Hassan first and foremost instead of actually listening to him. I think also, too, people get nervous about someone being controversial, right? Like, remember, like, Sylvie, when, like, I was in the thick of the Kirsche stuff, and a lot of people were like, I like what you're doing, but I don't want to associate with you because you're kind of, like, radioactive right now. And I would tell everyone, like, just wait a couple months because, like, that's going to change. Like, people are very short-sighted, especially in VTubing. Like, they see that, like, someone is disliked at current moment, at current year, and they get very nervous about associating with them. But the internet is super fickle. Like, I remember on Blue Sky, like, someone was like, you guys loved Anna, then you hated her, now you love her again, make up your damn minds. It's like, yeah, this is what happens on the internet. Like, unless you reach, like, truly, like, Natalie Wynn status or, like, Chris Chan status, like, this is what happens with public figures. They get disliked massively, and then they get loved again, and then you back and forth. It's totally going to happen in EN VTubing, too. And it's already happening because people are like, this is so base that you're doing all the call stuff. And I'm not doing this because I want to, like, improve my rep. I'm doing it because I care. But the stuff that happens with Hassan there is the same thing happened to me. It's why I always roll my eyes when people are like, I don't want to associate with you. It's like, give it like 6 months, dude. Not even. Give it a couple of weeks. Like, I'll fix it. Yeah, people care too much about optics and being brand friendly. Yeah, exactly. But if you're, like, kind of smart and base and you do, like, things that, like, matter to people, eventually people are going to stop giving a shit, which, lo and behold, is exactly what happened with me. So,
like, during World War II,
Stupid
the Allied forces, where we don't make this kind of inference about, like, what their personal...
That's what happens when you're real and don't pander. Yeah, if you pander, like, everyone likes you until they figure out you're a fraud, and then everyone hates you. But if you are, like, legit, people will come to respect the fact that, like, you're honest with them, so... Even if they dislike things you do. Like, think of how many people that ping me and are like, I massively dislike you, but you're doing a good thing, so I respect that. And I'm like, I respect you for saying that, because, like, you can go back to disliking me as soon as all this is done, but we are on the same side on this, and I'm going to respect if you come to me and say that.
Political opinions were. It's incredibly stupid. Obviously, there is a different hierarchy of need when it comes to people being slaughtered with bombs, dude. Yeah. I can't, like, what am I... Asmongold? Do you think I need to figure out what, like, the Palestinian resistance groups feel about these in video games before I make up my mind on whether or not I support them? What are you, dumb? All right, we're gonna move on from this and get to, like, some other news as well. But yeah, so this lady, and also Stop Killing Games is another initiative that I'm on board with.
Yeah, there you go.
But also,
she's so based.
This person was, like, insane with the way that she was able to just stir up enough controversy, and do a email campaign to one of these, like, dumb boomer led payment processors that they got scared.
It's so good.
They got scared.
It's so good.
And now they're cracking the whip on Steam.
Yeah, he's right. All right, I'm taking a look and seeing if there's any other news updates we should talk about while this is all going on. Oh my God. Why don't we have more giant games? Why don't we have more games of giant women? 4chan V reply 130. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to post that on Blue Sky later, aren't I? That's so funny. All right, oh, here it is. 4chan V Neil over 300 replies, and it's MasterCard and Visa. I don't think there's any news to talk about, but there you go. It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. I'm gonna pocket the 4chan one about giant women for later. Okay. I don't think your Blue Sky profile's in your link tree. I gotta fix that. I'm gonna put Anna on a galaxy-sized pedestal. Good. Oh, that's so cute, Wolf. Or Woof. Sorry, I'm sorry. Woof. That's so cute. Okay. Doing another news roundup. Wait. No way. MasterCard's headquarters is in Purchase, Harrison, New York. That's so funny. That's Orc City levels of originality. That's so funny. Straight up being Orc City'd. Who's up with their Orc Citosi? You know what I'm saying, chat? You know, is this real? Is this real, chat? In the realm of things, is this real, chat? Chat, is this real? Okay. There's an ELI5 I want to look at too. Reclaim the net. Itch.io hides adult tag games amid payment pressure. Let's see. Eurogamer report. Anything new from Eurogamer? Burpees? Orca Booba? They are real. Who's up with their Orca Booba? Booba? Orca Booba? Babooba? Orky Booby? Bob? Okay. ELI 5. Why can't Steam and Itch.io still sell adult games? 781 upvotes. Let's search Steam. On Reddit, go by top, and we'll see past today. I got a response from Visa. Okay. And then I'm also searching Itch.io. And then okay. This is from 13 hours ago on the Steam subreddit. I got a response from Visa. Hello, blank. Thank you for reaching out and sharing your perspective. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed to protecting legal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is to process the transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers. Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have visibility into the specific goods or services sold when we process the transaction. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of illegal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the banks supporting those merchants. For more information on Visa's policies, please visit our network integrity page. Guys, this is such a good example of why you call. They're copying and pasting this shit to all of you. Call. You have to call. You can overload a call center. You can't overload an email inbox. Well, you can. It's illegal, but, you know. Not like this, fam. Not like this. Call is better. Call. You have to call. Whoops. Okay. MasterCard Visa under fire is called to not police legal content. Blows up. 13K upvotes on Reddit. Our technology. The normies are waking up, chat. The normies are waking up. Do you hear that? That's the sound of normies. Thousands of normies. Thousands of normies waking up. The fire rises. Censorship brought to you by Visa and MasterCard. Tumblr, 5K upvotes. MasterCard. and Visa have reported to a couple news outlets that they are currently being swamped with calls and complaints. I don't think they've told news outlets that. I think they've just been telling people that have been calling. Keep up the pressure and try to politely insist that you leave a complaint via phone instead of letting the rep direct you to emails. It's way easier to be overwhelmed by a much smaller number of calls, so each one counts for a bit more. This Blue Sky thread has scripts and hotlines, so if you want to reblog this version instead, that would be appreciated. Call. They are swamped. Woo! And so what you need to do is keep calling. We're going to be calling for days, guys, so get ready. Do your calls. Make it part of your routine. Wake up in the morning or, in the afternoon when you're doing lunch. Double check what times the call centers are open. Do your calls. Only 4. You only need to do 4 a day, but you got to do it every day. It's your reps. It's your anti-censorship reps. I'm your trainer. 4 a day, every day. If you got a little extra time, you call the ACLU as well. We all work together. We will make a difference. I'm feeling it. Okay, guys? I'm feeling it. I saw the Bellular news video on this. Got a good amount of views. Hell yeah. Hey, Super Circuit. It's going good. Aragon running into the halls of for him. The normies call for aid. Normies based and red pilled for once. Retweet every day. What if Stripe? Okay. So, MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Stripe. You want to hit up all 4 of them each and every day. At least 1 call per day. I know one of the Stripe phone call numbers was pulled. The one that we originally were sharing. So I'm going to look into that sometime after I finish streaming. And then you also want to hit up the ACLU national chapter, leave a call. And you also want to hit up your local chapter and leave a message. In both of those cases, you guys want to do this pretty much every day. ACLU, maybe it's okay to skip a day or 2, but you absolutely want to hit up Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Stripe. All 4, every single day, call. You want to make sure that you magic words to repeat if you miss the script portion is things like, I read this on the news. I'd like to lodge and file a complaint. What was the other one? This is a repeat follow-up call. You want to start saying that. You'd like to talk to a supervisor if you're being dodged. And the golden rule alongside this is a repeat call. Over 30 seconds. The moment that you hit the moment that your call is taking over 30 seconds, they need to spend over 30 seconds with you, it starts to stand out as a strange call that needs to be dealt with and potentially escalated or solved in some shape or form. So you want to stay with them for a significant portion of time on the phone, trying to get your issue addressed. Call for a supervisor if you need to. Stress that this is a repeat issue and call every day. If we do this, I feel it, guys. I feel it. I think we're going to win this. I'm feeling it because the news is covering it. The petitions are turning heads. And once the news starts covering it like this, where there's 3, 4, 5 articles outside of the gaming industry covering it, more people start to cover it. And I feel that we were successful with the OnlyFans situation. I think we can be successful with this one too. So call. Talk slowly, yeah. The ACLU is irrelevant to me. Hit up your local equivalent. This is all I can really say. For us Americans, the ACLU is particularly important because a lot of these financial institutions are American institutions. So we finding some way to litigate this with an American corporation is really important. But yes, if you're Canadian, focus on the Canadian numbers that you can call around MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Stripe. And if you can't call, retweet at companies, mention them, flood their social media, contact the ACLU on Blue Sky, and ask your friends if they can do calls for you. Guys, I want you all to drop a fat W because everyone's been doing such a good job. Drop a W in chat because we are going to win this. Okay? We are going to fucking win this. We are. I can feel it. I can feel in my gut that we're going to win this. I can feel it, guys. I can feel it. I don't usually feel this way about this kind of stuff. But something's different this time. So we're going to fucking win this. Look at all these fat W's. Very drunk Oni. Lady Crystalis. Good to see you. WTU. Hell yeah. We're going to win this, chat. We're going to win this. All right. I've been streaming for a little over 3 hours. I'm going to get a slightly edited version of this over to you, my lovely Homer. And I'm going to rest and eat some food. I know there's a lot of stuff happening. Do want to give you guys a fair warning that I will need to take some time to rest, so I might not be as retweet seeing everything over Blue Sky and Twitter over this weekend. I kind of need some time to reset. It's been a very busy week, but I will be keeping an eye out for everything and reporting things as I can on my socials. Thank you, Anna, for all your work on this too. It is my pleasure. Guys, I feel so blessed that what was a really awful thing that happened was an opportunity for us to make some change happen. And I know, this is leaving my job like in the way that I did was a difficult and stressful decision, but I really think that it was a golden opportunity to stress test and see whether we can repeat what happened with OnlyFans, and I think we can. I think it's going to happen. I really do think it's going to happen. We just have to keep it up, and we have to keep the momentum going, and it's going to happen. And beat one out. Oh, good advice. Not so much a short stream, but an important one. So true. It's been so heartening seeing the way people have come together over this. I agree. I've never seen this before. I've covered this issue for 7 years, and I've never seen it quite like this. The closest I've seen was OnlyFans, but this is different. Like, this is Charlie, Hassan, everyone talking about it. This is different. Okay, guys. I'm going to see if there's someone I can raid. There's someone I can raid. Ow. Ow, I bumped into my thing. Oh, AV! Let's raid AV. You know I love AV, so. Let's go raid her, chat. Oh, her stream's starting in 1:30, so now is a good opportunity. I just want to remind you guys all, if you've liked seeing what you've seen, don't forget to hit that follow button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's a great way to support me, and I could use a little support right now still. Tipping me is also highly appreciated. Tipping is always highly appreciated. I do still need a little bit of cashola while I'm figuring out the future of all of my reporting. But I do have some ambitious plans in the way. Thank you, Super Circuit, for the follow. Subs are always welcome. Prime subs are welcome. Gifted subs are always welcome as well. And if you'd like to give me something in more monetary in nature, Throne is always an opportunity too. And I'm so sorry. I meant to do all of this for so long, during the stream, and I forgot to do it. Don't forget to also join my Discord if you like the vibes and you want to chit chat with other people that are, interested in this topic or Gynus 4 stuff. Do not know why I had an RA follow. Glad to be here. I did not follow Niara for so long. I completely forgot to. All right, let's go raid AV. I love my AV. My dear Queen AV. And let's get the show on the road. Thank you, everyone. This was a lovely, lovely stream. And we will go do that raid.